Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to VISPRO as we start to wrap up split one of our spring season championship series. And as we get ready here, this is actually going to be the semifinals here tonight. The last four teams remaining are going to be battling it out on the fold. And these games are going to be pretty intense. We had some really exciting ones yesterday as we finished up the quarterfinals, but today it all comes down to the wire. Who is going to make it to the finals tomorrow? And who's going to be battling out for third place. I'm joined tonight by Tasty Bacon and Denominate, as you guys will be co-casting with me and actually casting you guys the games as I just help out and break down the game. So guys, thanks for joining me.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. I don't believe I've actually casted with Denominate before, so this will be a bit of a learning experience here for both of us, but hopefully it should be an exciting set of games and a fun night of Vainglory.
Absolutely. We got some good games lined up for tonight, too.
Well, we really do, everybody. So let's talk a little bit about the schedule here today, what you guys are going to be seeing. A Cloud9 versus Nova Esport. That is our first matchup. And I'll be honest, this might be the closest one. I mean, there's a lot of question marks. We haven't really gotten to see Nova Esports play against these top VGA teams yet. They've come hot out of challengers. They've picked up some really fresh pieces here, and they're looking to stage a very solid, team going into VG8 next season that might have a chance of really upsetting some of the people's predictions and power rankings. So this is our first one. This one might be the most exciting one, potentially, Denominate.
I definitely think so. I think Nova coming into the VG8 or even the games tonight against Cloud9, I think there's a very stiff bridge between the top three teams in the VG8 and the bottom three teams. And I feel that Nova can really kind of bridge that gap a little bit and show, all of these teams are capable of beating these other teams.
Absolutely. Tasty, you've had the pleasure to actually watch most of these games with me. And we've seen Nova during the Challenger Series, in the Challenge Battles, and now here in VISPRO. Tell me a little bit about what really you feel makes his team such a strong contender, or is there still some weaknesses that they could be exploited on by some of these top-tier teams?
I mean, every team in Vainglory, I think, has at least some sort of weakness that can be exploited. It's just a matter of how glaring that weakness is and how easy it is to exploit. We've seen from Nova, sometimes their early game, they can go a little bit too aggressive if they find a lead, and they can have some trouble closing out games, as we saw in their matchups yesterday against, I believe it was, I'm drawing a complete blank now all of a sudden, but it was NRG.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so there were, those games were super close, super back and forth. There's some decision-making questions at times for Nova, and those are the kinds of mistakes that a team like Cloud9 is going to absolutely jump all over. So they need to really tighten things up if they're going to have any chance of taking down the current Western champions.
Yeah, we definitely saw that. Game 1 and 2, there were some issues. They ended up going to Game 3. Game 3 looked like they brought that all together. They were able to solidify. Their rotations were clean. Their play very dominant. And it was like a different team from the first two games. They have that potential. And it's just all about finding the way to bring that all together. They're somewhat of a diamond in the rough. Our second matchup today, guys, it's Team Solo Mid versus Tempo Storm. And this one, has the potential to be pretty dominant a game for Team Solo Mid, but it could be a closer matchup. It really depends on how Tempo Storm comes out. For everyone who's been watching VISPRO, you may know that FlashX has been on vacation. And so Evil from Team Rogue has actually stepped in as a sub during VISPRO and has performed really well. I mean, it's almost like FlashX just got carbon copied. I mean, it's just a really, really solid play from Evil in this lineup. So, Tasty, it's hard to say really that Team Solo Mid's any worse for the wear. They look really, really good coming into the night.
Yeah, and this is going to be one that I'm really interested in because it's also maybe a bit of revenge for Team Solo Mid, as Tempo Storm in the regular season did take down Team Solo Mid in the final week. So TSM maybe has that lingering in the back of their minds and wants to get a little bit of vengeance.
Yeah, anything's possible. It's all going to be really, really critical here into these games. Semifinals, of course, they are best of 3, but we are on update 2.4. We're not on the new update as we close out this season, still on the old patch. So this is kind of the same meta, but we have seen yesterday, really interesting shifts in the meta. We saw Weapon Adagio twice. And, Day, I don't know if you've been seeing this kind of resurge right at the end. Obviously, we're now in 2.5, but that is kind of surprising to see. Both Old School played it. We did see NRG play it. They didn't have as much success, but it just seems like there's some interesting picks coming out here, even after we've started to move away from this update. So, definitely something to look forward to. If you, of course, have anything else to add as far as what you think might come out from the meta composition in the draft specifically, it's definitely one to keep an eye on. All right,
All
Dave's
right,
got a
I
little bit
think
of
my mic is back. Sorry, I think I fixed it. As far as what you were saying on the very off meta picks, I think Weapon Adagio has been always something that people have had in their back pocket. A lot of people had experience playing it. Old School particularly has had a lot of experience playing Weapon Adagio through the previous patches. Is it as viable as the Crystal Power? I personally don't think so, but is it something you can flex to get your Crystal Jungle to work? Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of seems like the motivation was you want to take Adagio away from the enemy team to prevent double heal, but you still want that Crystal Jungler. You still pick up a strong either a Grumpjaw or a Glaive or a Taka, and you want to go Crystal in the jungle. You then flex that Adagio as a weapon, and it really was effective, though, Day. I mean, it looked very, very strong. Even in the one game that it lost, it still seemed to pack an incredible punch. So we'll just have to keep an eye on the meta, on the compositions. These games are going to be exciting. You're not going to want to miss them. And we're going to be getting into game number 1 in just a few moments. But first, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Cloud9 versus Nova Esports. It's going to be live right here on VISPRO.
Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try Band today. Band. Be together.
Hey, welcome back, everybody. We're ready to get into game number 1 of this best of 3 series. Cloud9 and Nova Esports, they're on the deck. They're ready to get into this draft, and it's definitely going to be going down to the wire here. And we're really excited to see how, when we get into this draft, what these teams decide to pull out. If they're going to pull out the big guns, or if they're going to try something a little bit more conventional as we wait to see just confirmation. And it looks like we're ready to go. So without waiting too much longer, guys, let's get right into it and start draft of game number 1.
The draft begins.
All right, so here we go. We've got it's both of these teams now ready to go. First band coming out, it will be Grumpjaw being taken off the board. And Dragonborn, if you can just confirm, it is Cloud9 on the blue side for game 1, correct? Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is what we're going to see. We are on patch 2.4 for anyone who is wondering if what kind of how the new patch is going to play out. You're going to have to wait a little bit to see where the competitive teams go for that, because this is still 2.4, and so Lyra hasn't received those buffs that she just got to that burst healing on her sigil, but still a very strong pick. Adagio is going to actually get left open through the first couple of bans. That's definitely interesting, Denominator, to see one of the healers get picked up but not the other, and they're actually going to ban him away.
It's a very interesting draft that we got going on here. I do like that the Grumpjaw was banned early. We've discussed before how strong of a flex pick it is going between that captain or the jungle position. Very interesting, though, that we do have this Adagio ban, giving up the Lyra on one side and then banning the Adagio on your side when you do have this next pick secured just seems like a pretty risky move to me.
All right, well, Taka going to be taken off the board here now. I like the Taka ban when you have a healer, especially a Lyra, does leave open a lot of possibilities. It takes away that one of the ways to easily apply mortal wounds. Fortress is still available for that. However, Cloud9 is one of the few teams that was running Fortress yesterday, so I don't know if it's going to be a pick that does get taken here by Nova. They're going to go for the Vox, still an option for the Poison Shiv to apply mortal wounds, but this could be a Samuel-type situation for Cloud9 if they want to go for it, or we've also seen them running a lot of Rona. They have plenty of options here.
Yeah, I think Rona would be a pretty strong pick. Rona has a lot of gap closing ability between her Into the Fray and her Foe Splitter, where she's able to get to that Vox, get Atlas Pauldron down pretty easily, get past the Lance is kind of the key thing also. But Baron is another very good counter pick into the Vox, and we see that locked in by Cloud9.
Yep, and so Baron is one of those picks that can really be either hit or miss. When a Baron is on, it can just take over games so immensely. But if it's off, it just feels like it brings absolutely nothing to a fight. So we'll have to see. Obviously, Old School is a player that is more often than not will be on his game. And so this Baron could be pretty devastating. Now let's see what they decide to pick up for I Love Joseph, as you have to assume, obviously, that the Lyra is going to be going to Vaynes in the jungle, or in the captain position, excuse me.
Yeah, burning a bit of bonus time here, but we do get the pedal locked in. That's kind of a risky pick to me. Into the Lance. Lance has a lot of manipulation of the Munions, being able to root them, being able to use Githian Wall to push them away as pedal alts. It can really play out either way. We're going to have to see how C9 plays into this Lance, and if the Lance is skilled enough with his CC to protect his team.
Yep, definitely going to be a difficult situation for them to move around that Lance. And with another pick here, they could still look for some even more crowd control. But you got to figure, Lance can be flexed into either the jungle or the captain spot. And they're going to go ahead and pick up the Samuel. Now that they know that the hard counters for the Samuel aren't available, the interaction between Samuel and Petal is a pretty interesting one. On the one hand, you can argue that the Munions can block out the Malice and Verdict shots, but at the same time, if it's those empowered Malice and Verdicts from the Drifting Dark, they can clear out those Munions very, very quickly. So watching how those two heroes interact in the jungle is actually going to be really fun.
Well, when it comes down to the team fights, too, this is where it goes back to the Lance has the CC, where he can get those Petal Munions out of the way and potentially give Samuel that opportunity to get damage down on Baron and Petal.
It's definitely going to be opportunities abound. Which team is going to take advantage of the opportunities that will be afforded to them throughout this game? Again, you got to figure the heavy favorites are going to be Cloud9, as they are loading onto the fold for this first game of the best of three, our first game of the semifinals here in VISPRO. Who will get the upper hand? Lone Delphi, Starboy, and Truth, the slightly updated roster of the of Nova. Looks like we actually had a minor issue with getting Denominate into the game, and so he won't be able to actually watch this one.
Well, that's rip, as we do get hit to this game. Luckily, you got a dragon here to back up. We'll have to see what's happening there, and hopefully we can get it into the next game here without too much problems. But yeah, man, that kind of sucks. Poor Denominator, we do feel bad for you, man. Hopefully you can find something. He should be able to get right into it. Awesome. Looks like he'll be into it, no problem at all. So, just early game, actually kind of passive from Cloud9 from what we've seen in the past. They do pick up this Baron Petal, which scaled well into late game. There's not necessarily the need to have that early game advantage. And right now, pretty even between the two. Starboy on the lands, I really like. You know, when he can't get on the Lyra, I feel like he can offer, especially going up against the Petal, that engagement, he can offer some more poke. Of course, Delphi on the Samuel. We saw this yesterday, Tasty. It was very, very lethal.
Yeah, it absolutely can be. Right now with this Lyra, though, going to be able to heal up quite a bit in the lane. So Old School is going to feel pretty safe between the jump jets once he hits level 2. Right now he's getting a lot of damage onto Truth, but down in the jungle, it's actually first blood going to I Love Joseph as he finds Lone Delphi there. I didn't unfortunately get to see what exactly happened as I was watching to see if Old School was going to get first blood up in the lane. But now Truth and Starboy putting the pressure onto Old School. He's going to get the healing from Veins. And again, has to use those jump jets defensively. It's a long cooldown early on. So this could be an opportunity for Truth and Starboy to try and take advantage knowing that that cooldown has been used.
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, interesting to hear see a nice return kill to get that Veins goes down too. That Drifting Darkness is so potent early game. You see Delphi get in there. We saw him play Samuel last night, and he was really strong on it. Obviously, against the Petal early before level 2, he had a little bit of issues. But now that he's got Drifting Darkness here, I Love Joseph's going to have to pay a little bit more respect. As you do see, Joseph, he's you know, he's sitting there with 3 crystal bits. He's definitely got a nice power spike. But even with that, you know, he's got to respect this Samuel.
Yeah, absolutely. Samuel, especially once you get level 2,
Nice.
you know, the Malice and Verdicts and the empowered Malice and Verdicts can do so much damage. So Lone Delphi, definitely a playmaker. This is one of the things we talked about yesterday. When he came into this roster, they wanted him because of his playmaking abilities. And that's exactly what they just got here early on against Cloud9. Can they keep the pressure on those? You can see the gold, despite the 2 kills, is very even. Nice route onto Old School. Not going to get knocked back by the Githian wall. Starboy wasn't quite able to get into position that he was hoping for. However, here comes those Malice and Verdicts from Lone Delphi with the Drifting Dark. Are they going to find any more? Nope, just the one shot will go out from that. And so they just sort of back off for now. And Starboy, again, can go for another impale. Big root, good, big stun, double stun there, but Old School did not get caught up in that, and he traded a lot of damage back onto the lance. However, I Love Joseph, again, gonna go low. That root will land onto Old School. That Githian wall will not miss, as that actually finds the kill, and it is 3-1. Right now, Nova bringing the fight to Cloud9.
Yeah, we talked about how this game might be one of the closer games of the night. And Nova, kind of like a mystery here. I don't think, you know, a lot of these VGA teams have had the experience to play against them. And with the addition of Lone Delphi, there's a lot more here in the roster and depth of the roster than many of the other teams that have actually made it to VGA over the last 2 seasons. So definitely a lot of excitement here as we go. It's early, you know, there's just a slight goal lead. This is not really something that you have to be super concerned if you're Cloud9, especially Tasty. The fact that that Baron will become very strong in the late game. The Petal's going to scale well with it too. So Cloud9 really maybe just looks a little rough because of the composition they're going into early.
Yeah, their late game strength is going to be immense, and that's something that Nova has to be aware of. They need to try and get themselves scaled up as quickly as possible, keeping this pressure on. And so you can see Truth is going to be just clearing out these waves quickly to just make sure that Old School has as much trouble as possible underneath the turret. You know, well, so a lot of heroes actually have a pretty easy time farming under the turret. Baron does not. Because of the splash damage, it can really throw off things with the turret shots. A nice impale is going to come through. They get the stun onto Old School. Can they find another kill? Malice and Verdict is going to go wide, but that one connects. Old School is so low. but they just can't quite finish him off just yet. Truth, though, going in deep. Another big impale. Another big Githian wall. Starboy is landing a lot of these abilities really nicely. Took a lot of damage from the turret that time. But if he can keep this up, they are going to find themselves opportunities. That's a kill. Truth goes under the turret with Lone Delphi to find another kill. They are just really picking on this Baron.
Yeah, I don't think Old School thought that they were going to make that gutsy of a play. You know, you're going into this game not really sure of how aggressive this team's going to be, how gutsy. But actually, Truth and Delphi are very aggressive, and they actually take a lot of risky calls. Sometimes it pays off. Old School there maybe just a little bit underestimating that potential, that ability to dive. Early game, it's risky to dive, but we're starting to get the 6 minutes. The teams have had time to shop a little bit. Vox does have tension bow too, which is, you know, definitely plays into that decision to go in for that early dive because you know you're going to get a big burst damage out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, they've been playing this early game very well, but again, even though they've been able to find kills on the side of Nova, they still need to find objectives off of these kills. Right now, they've got a good gold lead. Oh, this is a lot of damage coming out. Wait for it. Does get a nice silence, but Petal has already killed Truth. That was quick. There's going to be a fountain getting popped by Veins. Keep the team alive and pressuring on to Nova. Starboy didn't even have a chance to use his fountain to try and save Truth. And just like that, all of a sudden, Cloud9 starting to take momentum back into their hands. When Delphi has to use the Malice and Verdicts to try and clear out underneath this turret. Old School firing off damage from the other side of the wall. But with Truth coming back, they need to back away.
Yeah, they're going to back away, look to take this, but oh, look, you do see Starboy. Now, he used his fountain at the same time as Cloud9 to kind of give him an idea of when theirs will be up. He's going to pay the price, unfortunately.
Oh, yep. Starboy's going to fall, but they do take down Petal. Malice and Verdicts coming from over the wall, doing some good damage, but Truth and Lone Delphi in a bad spot, perhaps. Crystal Sentry dishing out the damage, though, will allow them to pick up an ace. What a play from Nova, and perhaps some missteps there from Cloud9, not respecting that Crystal Sentry damage. This is going to be the first turret of the game.
Yeah, definitely a challenge as well. And actually, Truth able to use the portal to reposition actually really played into Nova's strength there in that fight. They repositioning through the Baron off. He wasn't getting that damage on. Delphi has a tension bow, so giving him more time for that proc to come back online is actually what he wants to do early game. Able to do that, spins around, gets in. Man, look at that. In no time at all, you do see Nova looking strong here. 7-3 on the kills. And with a 2,000 gold lead, it's still not a huge enough deficit to be concerned for Cloud9 because of that Baron. But oh, look at that Truth going in quickly, knowing he needs to make something happen here in this mid game.
Yeah, absolutely. They need to find some pressure. Both Truth and Starboy are low. They're going to pop the fountain and try and go in. Big wait for it. Will Silence 2. Old School is low. He's going to get taken out by the Impale. Meanwhile, Truth finds one. He finds a double. And just like that, Nova have themselves another ace. That's going to be a gold miner.
Oh my goodness. Huge, huge ace for them. I mean, that's absolutely incredible here because as you get later in the game, if you can keep that lead up, it means the late game won't be as potent for the Baron, and that's exactly what Nova needs to do here. They're looking absolutely strong. They're playing the way they really need to play. This is actually their recipe for success. If they didn't have this early game lead, it would have been very, very dangerous. So at least now they've given themselves a chance to win this game.
All right, so Nova looking strong against Cloud9. It is still again, you always have to keep a thought in the back of your mind about this late game Baron and Petal. But right now, Truth and Lone Delphi are really bringing it. And again, I can't stress enough how good the play from Starboy has been, landing these crucial impales and Githian walls to set up these opportunities. And that last fight, it looked for sure like Truth and Starboy were too low. There was no way they were going to be able to go in for that fight, but they make the call together. The fountain goes out as they engage, and it's enough for them to be able to find the kills. And Scout Trap's getting a lot of mileage for Cloud9. Starboy does finally end up stepping on it, but Cloud9 now knows where their opponents are. They know they need to be a little bit more careful than they have been up to this point. I mean, you can see Old School getting out CS pretty heavily on this Baron. That's not something you see all that frequently, as a Baron being this far behind, especially something like a Vox. But Truth going for this the Poison Shiv Tension Bow build. It's very burst heavy, but it also provides that little bit of armor pierce, and that's one of the big things that people are picking up the Tension Bow for at this stage of the game is, it's, yeah, you get that little bit of extra burst, but that armor pierce is really the big selling point. Oh, nice rotations, nice movement here from Nova. They're going to try and siege up on this turret, but they realize that everyone from Cloud9 has recalled, but that leaves them open to now just take this Crystal Sentry so quickly. Cloud9's not going to be able to respond to this.
No, absolutely. It's just too little too late. As they're going to be able to get into that. Sorry about that, everyone. Real quick, we had to take a small delay here, small break off of the game real quick. You saw that a few minutes ago, but we're back into it as we look to get into this game.
All right, well, right now there's another big engage going down. The orbital strike is going to come through, but it's not going to be enough. Another big impale lands onto Vanes. Will get the portal out, but they just follow him through. I Love Joseph will get to the safety of the Sanctuary, but it's 2 kills going the way of Nova as they quickly clear out these minions, and they're going to look to get some damage on this turret. I Love Joseph needs to be careful about sticking around trying to defend. He's going to get stunned into the wall, and again, Starboy just setting them up, and Truth and Lone Delphi are knocking them down.
And this is just incredible, guys, is to see Nova play this confidently. Now, it's, a pretty big lead. We're talking about over 5,000 gold. You're talking about building into those tier 3, the third tier 3 weapon items. Delphi's still got a ways to go, but he's sitting on some gold. You're going to see Truth picking up that Tyrant's Monocle right now. Starboy, I'm really kind of impressed by his build. This is a very unique. Starboy really prioritizing cooldown. He wants that crowd control, and he wants to be able to use it continuously. He may be actually building a Clockworks here.
Yeah, very well could be. It's a lot of cooldown. We'll see where he decides to go. There's a lot of options with cooldown items now, which is one of the things that I know a lot of captains are very happy about when 2.0 came out for Vainglory. But right now, Truth, he's going to be in a bit of trouble, but they just aren't able to capitalize. Now the rest of the damage coming in from Nova. They're going to continue chasing down. Comes the orbital strike, but Starboy goes in deep, manages to get himself avoiding the Oblivion. However, the damage from Old School has finally come online. I Love Joseph's going to try and chase. They get one, but Lone Delphi knows that he can heal when he's in this drifting darkness. Big damage from the Malice and Verdict hitting onto I Love Joseph, and it's just going to be the 1 kill going down.
Oh, they're so low, but having a Lyra on your team, that is going to allow you to stick around here in the jungle, take this gold mine. This is a big gold swing here because it doesn't seem significant as you're still going to be down over 5,000 gold. Look at almost like 7,000 or 8,000 gold, but you're starting to pick up those critical items for this Baron and Petal to really come online. Look, Breaking Point's built, Broken Myth is built, and Vanes, he picks up that Atlas Pauldron. That's going to be really huge going into Truth of Light. So up until this point, Truth of Light has been able to just lay into Cloud9. If Vanes can land these Atlas Pauldrons and slow it down, you're going to see a completely different look to these team fights here. Truth going with that very, very aggressive all glass cannon kind of build here on the box here. 4 offensive items in the work. Starboy finally goes into a look. Yeah, it looks like he just built that contraption, but still has that extra cooldown.
Yeah, definitely is going to be, I mean, again, who knows what this final item is going to be for Starboy. Very likely going to be another one of those utility type items. Not going to connect the impale that time, but he doesn't get stunned up because of the root landing on a minion. They blow up Old School in an instant. That's going to be Vanes having to portal out to safety. Truth wants to try and take him down before he can get to the Sanctuary. He's going to find the kill. What a great job there by Truth. And now Lone Delphi and Starboy trying to deal with I Love Joseph, who also has the help of the Crystal Sentry. The Malice and Verdict's not quite going to stop the recalls, but the Impale does. Finds the cancellation of the recall, and they find the ace. What a job by Nova. Old School is back up. because it's still so early on. Kraken just now awakening, but Nova, they're looking for these turrets. They're looking for the kill. Old School goes right back to the Sanctuary, and that's going to be both turrets destroyed. They do lose out on Starboy, but Lone Delphi and Truth, they're just going to end the game. This is Nova taking game number 1 off of Cloud9.
What is this? Nova Esports comes in, and a little bit of a shock factor here for us here at the VIS desk as Cloud9. Now keep in mind, Bane's stepping in for, Bane's is playing for Cloud9. You know, it's Islanders also. This is Bane's from Immortals roster coming in here and plays the game as he's on vacation for this season. But he was playing fantastic all season. I mean, he is a fantastic support. And it really comes down to just the incredible aggression from this Vox play. Truth of Light, if you guys are watching this game, man, it's just unbelievable positioning, unbelievable dodging of that. You even see the Atlas get used. It's just incredible. And Nova Esports, they win it, man. We were talking about this might be the game that it comes down to the wire and it's really contested. And sure enough, man, this could be going to game 3. Unbelievable.
Well, it could be going to game 3, or it could be a 2-0 finish because Nova looked very, very strong here in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely unbelievable. As this was just a complete change of what we were expecting. Maybe surprising Cloud9, and I expect Cloud9 to come in here. And I think that they're going to kind of look at how they approach the draft. They're going to have to change things up here because obviously that late game, it's just not going to play well into a team that knows how to take that early lead, that knows how to snowball against it. And Baron never came online. We did not see Old School ever get the lead that he needed. And even from coming from behind, they was never able to really anchor himself at any point in the game to get that kind of, itemizational balance that he could come in and start dealing more damage and outpacing the Vox. I think people should really look at how that build was. If you take a look at the build from Truth of Light, Truth of Light's Vox build, very aggressive, very early game. It was just made to counter that Baron.
Yeah, and again, I think the biggest thing for me that game was Starboy just constantly landing these impales and great Githian walls throughout the entire game, able to find and, like I said, just set up these plays for Lone Delphi and Truth to be able to make. It worked so well for them. I wouldn't be at all surprised if we end up seeing the Lance get banned this time by Cloud9.
Yeah, absolutely. As we get heading into this draft, we're getting ready here pretty soon. Just got to check in with the teams. But as you guys just witnessed, this is a really incredible matchup. Actually, it looks like our matchup graphics was a bit of a typo there. I do apologize. As we had the wrong matchup graphic from earlier on, so everybody please forgive me for that. But we've got it correct now as Cloud9 versus, it does say, oops. There's a typo there too. So, it's for naught. We'll get you guys into this game though in just a few seconds. But wow, that was really incredible. All right, so checking in with Starboy and with Ian. And we should be getting ready to get into this game in just a second. But man, this is really going to be something, guys. I mean, if they can pull it off, if they can go into this and take 2 games right off Cloud9, I have to imagine Cloud9's thinking about completely changing. I mean, they're on B side now, so they can dictate the draft a little bit differently.
Yeah, I mean, I would expect them to approach the draft a bit differently after the way that game worked out. Like I said, perhaps a Lance ban is going to be in the cards for Cloud9, just making sure that Starboy doesn't get that big comfort pick because he played so incredibly well with it. And who knows, maybe the healers. I mean, again, just really well played by Nova. They let the library go through and banned the Adagio, which is something that made both Domine and I raise our eyebrows a bit at, because you don't often see a team let a healer go through and then choose to take away the other one from themselves, even because they did have the next pick. So it was something that we questioned, and they made it work.
Absolutely. Looks like we're almost ready to get into this draft here. Got a thumbs up from Cloud9, so it shouldn't be too much longer. And once we are ready to go, it'll be pretty short. There we go. Should be pretty short from here once we are jumping into it, so. Alrighty then. All right, guys. So we're ready to get into the draft. It is game number 2 versus Cloud9 and Nova Esports, with Nova taking a surprise game 1 victory and really stunning us all as we get into this. So it looks like everyone's ready to go. So we're going to start game number 2 here in this best of 3.
All right, so with this next draft underway, Nova is on the clock. They're going to take the Glaive off the board. Not terribly surprising. Again, Glaive is just such a powerhouse pick on patch 2.4, able to be flexed into any of the 3 roles, multiple build path options for him, and just absolutely game-changing abilities. So he's going to be taken away. Grumpjaw will be the ban, so that Lance is available. Would not be surprised to see Nova go ahead and first pick that once more.
All right, Tasty, I'm back. How are you doing today?
Welcome back.
So yeah, I got two really good flex picks banned off right here in the first round of bans. So we'll have to see what Nova picks up for this number 1 pick. Lyra seems to be a pretty safe pick. You know, she's has some degree of flex potential. You know, could lane, could roam, but I think pretty dominant in the roam position.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm kind of surprised that they went for the Lyra instead of the Lance that was open, because of just, again, how strong they looked in game number 1 with the Lance. But that's going to be the Vox taken off the board here as Cloud9 picks it up. They ban away the Kestrel. So Truth played a few games of Kestrel yesterday, so not going to be allowed to do that here. We'll see where he ends up going with his hero pool. Truth is one of those players that we haven't been able to see too much of a hero pool press on him. Most of the games that Nova has played in that we've been able to watch have been in the challengers when it was only the single ban. So now it's going to be tested a bit. Koshka gets taken away.
Yeah, I think Koshka's a pretty good ban here. You really don't want to give that early game aggression of Koshka into that late game that a Vox brings. I'm kind of surprised to see, however, that C9 didn't ban away either the Lance or the Baron, which seemed so effective last game.
Well, let's see what they decide to do. They could take the Lance themselves here if they so choose. I'm going to dip into their bonus time a bit. Obviously, I love Joseph, a player that can play a large number of heroes as he showcased, but they're going to take the Adagio, so they're not going to let the double heal go through to Nova. That's a smart pickup. Again, if you let double heal go through, you're asking for trouble. Even though we have seen teams be able to deal with it, it's still just a very strong composition.
I agree, and realistically here, do you think we're going to see this Adagio in the captain position, or do you think it's possible that Joseph could pick it up as a jungle hero?
I would assume it's going to be in the captain. I just could play it in the jungle, but it makes a lot more sense to have it be a captain. Gwen is going to be the selection from Nova, so that's going to be a hero pick for Truth, almost certainly. And so their jungle pick is going to be their final selection.
Yeah, digging into a little bit of their remaining bonus time here for this last pick. I do like the Gwen pickup into the Vox, though. She provides a lot of early game aggression that the Vox just doesn't have, especially with this Lyra able to come up into the lane and give that additional poke down because of the Vox's short range.
Well, they're going to go ahead and grab that Taka. This was banned away previously, so I'll see what Lone Delphi can do with this hero. He had some great plays with it yesterday. Meanwhile, on the side of Cloud9, Joseph is a big Taka player, so getting that pickup is also one that they can take away from Cloud9 by grabbing it themselves. So that's going to be limiting the options a little bit, but not too much. There's still, I Love Joseph really showed us during the Unified Championship that his hero pool is a lot deeper than most people gave him credit for.
Absolutely, and this Taka pickup does narrow his selection of heroes down a little bit. It does pick up the Fortress. Pretty good into the Taka. The Wolves will follow Taka as he's invisible. That gives at least knowledge of where the Taka is. He can't just freely run around the fights. So we'll have to see. I think Fortress pairs pretty well with Adagio with the aggression that they can both provide.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. We're getting into the game, guys, so I'm going to kick it back over to Denominate and Tasty to take us away and get us into the full, but it's definitely going to be a thrilling one. Can Nova Esports do it, guys? That's the question.
Yep, that is indeed. We are on to the fold for game number 2 of this best of 3. Nova Esports has the 1-0 lead over Cloud9. That is not a typo. The underdogs were able to take game number 1. And now we'll see where they decide to go to start off game number 2. Both teams, actually, no, never mind. Cloud9 looks like they're going to be going a bit aggressive. Meanwhile, Nova playing very defensively. Starboy going to be using the Sigil just to boost himself back to where his teammates are. So Cloud9 is going to be successful on this invade. We'll see if members of Nova can answer.
Yeah, I definitely see Nova wanting to play this early game in the jungle pretty safe against the combination of this Adagio and Fortress. That's a lot of sustain and burst damage that this Fortress is able to push down. And you already see we've got this Dragon Blood contract out from I Love Joseph, which is going to give them even more damage in this early game.
Yeah, absolutely is. And I mean, the early game, I'm kind of surprised that Cloud9 didn't try and push the issue. It's something that they normally do when they go for those aggressive invades, is try and find as much as they can. They really only steal away 1 or 2 camps, and then Nova is able to rotate through and steal some right back. However, Truth is in a little bit of a rough spot. He's going to have to walk all the way around the Kraken pit in order to get back into the lane. Starboy's going to give him that little bit of a speed boost just to make it a little quicker and ensure that he doesn't miss out on really any CS. It's a big minion wave that's going to be pushing into this turret, though. And hopefully for Truth, he's going to be able to farm up all of these. He shouldn't have too many issues. Gwen actually has a pretty easy time farming underneath the turret.
Absolutely. And this is really good played by C9 here. You know, they get that double minion wave pushed into the turret, and they take that opportunity to hurry up, get back, and buy, which Truth is not going to have that opportunity to do. And Old School's going to be back in lane with, we see he has some armor now, he has boots, and, he's got a little bit of everything going on here, whereas the Gwen only has the weapon blade and the light armor.
Yeah, it's early on, the defensive items coming out is something that we sometimes we see players completely forgoing defense until very late in the game, but this one, both these teams know the importance of this matchup. With Cloud9 having their backs against the walls, it's single elimination, so if you lose a best of 3, you are out of the VIS tournament. And so defense items going to be coming out, at least tier 1s, very early on.
Yeah, and it looks like we see this Gwen is going to be going with the tension bow build, which has been a very, very strong build on Gwen this patch. With that, we were discussing earlier, all the pierce that this item provides you, so it really discourages building armor into that first item, tension bow.
Yeah, absolutely. And so the pierce and, of course, that flat burst makes it just such a good item for Gwen, who already has a lot of burst when she uses her basic attack timings properly. And we're going to be seeing Truth actually ducking down into the jungle to pick up jungle gold alongside Lone Delphi. That's an adaptation a lot of teams have started to make during the season, to just maximize the amount of gold that was going onto their carries. Really nice to see it coming out here still from Nova. Lots of damage. Vains dishing out a ton of damage onto Starboy. Thankfully, is Lyra, and we'll be able to just heal that back up. But these resonance bounces, even though it's a weapon Vox, starting to do some pretty hefty damage as well. Vains, again, going aggressive. Here comes Lone Delphi, though. Are they going to try and make a play? Doesn't quite get in range to make anything happen, but now Starboy is going to be in trouble with I Love Joseph coming up. The Jungle Fortress makes the first blood happen. That's going to go over to Old School.
Yeah, very well played by C9. Good rotation up from Joseph, and I really do like this Fortress pick into the Lyra. Fortress has that mortal wound built right into his kit. However, the same can be said about the Taka. You know, Lone Delphi has that mortal wound from the X-Retsu against Vains, so it's a very even compositional matchup to me right now. I really want to believe in Nova this game, though. I really want to believe in Nova.
Yeah, I mean, the underdog story is one that everyone likes. They played so well in game number 1. If they can just bring that sort of fire here into game number 2, but obviously not the start they were hoping for. However, Starboy gets himself that early fountain to match Vains. A lot of tier 3 items starting to come out now as we hit this 5-minute mark. Pretty much, I believe, yeah, everyone has at least one tier 3 item under their belt. Both junglers going for the Storm Crown. Right now, Vane's going to be taking a good amount of damage. However, just not quite enough, and they are turning it right back around on to this Taka. Those Resonance Bounces not quite going to find the kill. But now I Love Joseph jumps in. Once these two junglers get a damage item, things are going to get pretty hectic in this game because they're already being so aggressive even without those Storm Crowns, which is where I assume both of them are going to be looking to go.
Yeah, and you know, I'm really interested to see what Lone Delphi does here. You know, he has a couple options. He could go into an Aftershock here, and that is going to provide him a little more damage against Vains and Joseph, or he has an option where he could go into like a Shatterglass Broken Myth build and just really try to take Old School out of the picture.
Yeah, the burst is going to be their absolute priority. Between a Tension Bow Gwen and an Aftershock Taka, that is just all burst. That's all they do is burst. And so it's really just going to be trying to pick Old School out of these fights and just get him deleted so that they can make it a 3-on-2 against Vains and Joseph. But that's a bit easier said than done. You know, obviously they do have the Adagio to help heal up and throw down that Fountain of Renewal to keep him alive. Lone Delphi tries to reclaim that Treant, but it does go over to Cloud9. But right now, that's going to fall. That's exactly what Nova is looking to do. Now they can chase down on to Vains. Vains has nowhere to go. That is a double kill for Nova.
Very, very well played by Nova. It was Starboy kept Truth alive just long enough to get that stun off where they were able to collapse down onto Old School, pick up that kill, and from there it was just a 2v3. And without that Vox, who's going to be your main damage source for the longer fights, that's a big hit to lose in that early in the fight.
All right, so if Nova can keep up that sort of pressure, if they can find those opportunities, they have a great chance in this one. I'm going to be curious to see where Old School goes with his defensive itemization, because obviously that's going to be very important for him to just try and survive the burst. I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, he ends up going for, oh god, why can't I think of the name of a lot until I go look it up, but we don't have a chance to look it up just yet because Lone Delphi goes very, very low thanks to the invade from Cloud9. They're going to go ahead and start this gold mine. This could be risky because they're going to get spotted out here. Truth, will he be able to steal this one away? Love the position from Cloud9 to block the health bar of the gold miner. There is going to be a stun landing onto I Love Joseph. Is it enough to allow Nova to chase this down, though? They've got Vains low, but they're going to be just going into the jungle. No kill's going to come through. That is a gold miner just going over to Cloud9. Excellent call from them.
Yeah, and Vains did a really good job there positioning himself where his own health bar was able to block out the health bar of the gold miner, which really put Truth in a situation where he had to guess in order to see, you know, where is this one shot I have going to steal this gold mine versus the enemy team just gets to wail on it the whole time. Yep. And it was really, really well played by Vains. And And just prior to that, he was able to secure the health camp that Lone Delphi was trying to pick up, which possibly could have given him enough health to continue fighting.
Yeah, and Slumbering Husk was the item I was trying to think of. I think Old School might benefit from going towards, because it's literally just the anti-burst item. And I think that could go a long way towards keeping him alive in these fights. But we'll see Nova trying to put some pressure onto this turret. They've already got it down to almost half health remaining, but they're just gonna actually try and go and look for something in the jungle. Oh, just unfortunate timing. Now here comes Cloud9 jumping in. Big wait for it, and Verse of Judgment will get a stun out onto Starboy. He is going to fall, and just like that, Nova are in a definite unfortunate position, as that's going to be Truth falling as well. Lone Delphi does get himself out of harm's way, but that was a very, very big counter engage from Cloud9.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's kind of interesting to see Delphi here, didn't either push the lane to try to prevent this wave from reaching turret, and also hasn't gone to steal any farm either. And I'm not really sure what the Taka is going to do to defend the turret without having that wave pushed out.
Yeah, I mean, Taka trying to defend a turret on his own anyway is usually not going to be a very successful venture. Turret does go down. I don't know about Nova trying to look for anything here, because Lone Delphi is pretty low, even with the healing from Lyra. And that's all. Vane's going to put himself way too far forward, trying to stall those minions from getting underneath the turret. That's an easy kill picked up for Nova. Now they have a 3-on-2. There's no captain available, but it doesn't matter. They have one kill. Old School finds one, but then Lone Delphi trades it. Are they going to be able to get out of here? I Love Joseph is chasing, but as he go too far underneath the turret shots are going to take him down. He does get the kill onto Lone Delphi, but Starboy is still alive, and it is an ace for Nova.
Yeah, just a split second before Vane's got up, and Starboy doesn't really have the damage that he can push this turret alone, but fortunately he does have 2 ace waves here, so I think this is going to be first turret for Nova, and Starboy may be able to clean up a half rotation down here.
Looks like it. Those minions are going to be able to take down the turret, so nice job by Starboy just getting the lane pushed out and then letting those ace buff minions do the rest of the work. Starboy needs to be careful. There is a scout trap that's going to get popped here and spot him out, but Cloud9 not going to be able to take advantage. Nova, though, keeping themselves in this game. Every time it feels like Cloud9 are starting to pull ahead, Nova seem to find themselves a way back in. You look at the golds, less than 1,000 gold separating these two teams at the moment. But Starboy, he's going to get caught out with Truth pretty heavily, throws down the bulwark and tries to run, but don't think he's going to be able to get out of this one. And the rest of Nova thinking about maybe trying to re-engage, but Cloud9 have just turned on to Truth. The Verse of Judgment will be enough for him to find the second kill. They do take down Joseph, but it is just Delphi left 1-on-2 with Vanes and Old School. They're going to start up this gold miner. They don't know where Lone Delphi is. He's going to try and just disrupt them here, and he does so successfully. It's going to be them backing off the gold mine.
Yeah, and that was a pretty key Atlas there out of Lone Delphi, able to slow down Old School and Vane's attacks. They had to back off because that gold miner was just going to sit there and wail on him, and this Taka brings so much damage that it would have been really dangerous to lose Old School at this point in the game. Giving up a gold mine to Nova right now could be a pretty risky thing. Cloud9 does have a small gold lead, but not anywhere near enough for it to be convincing or demanding that they're going to win this game.
Yeah, neither team has really been able to pull too far ahead, but we're going to be perhaps getting another fight here, as that's going to be a bulwark to stop any engagement from the members of Cloud9, but they just wait for it to go down and re-engage. Attack slow. Nice job with that Pauldron, but it's not going to be enough, as they, again, just have so much damage, and the burst is just not enough from Nova. They do take down Delphi. Now going in onto the Crystal Sentry, that could be a little bit of an overstep. Truth doesn't have enough energy to continue chasing. And finally now, the gold miner will go the way of Cloud9, but it was very, very close to them overstepping their bounds. Truth trying to make something happen, but Nova starting to fall behind in the actual full-on team fights, as again, the burst damage isn't quite enough for them to find these kills.
Yeah, and we're getting to the point that I Love Joseph is getting tanky enough on this fortress, and Old School is getting far enough into his build where he's really a damage threat. We have this breaking point completed out of him now, and you got a level 10 infusion as well as Joseph having a level 11 infusion. So I really like the coordination out of Cloud9 in that last fight, but I still don't want to say that Nova is out of this. I think Truth is a incredibly mechanically skilled laner. Delphi is obviously, we know him as a very, very good jungler. And I think they still have potential where they could win this game.
The potential is definitely there. All they need is one really good fight. And, there's been opportunities. Cloud9 have been overstepping a couple of times, but right now, Nova is just kind of getting out-rotated as they run all the way around. They do get themselves out to safety, but, if Cloud9 overstep like they have done, they've gone deep under turrets. They've gone into that Crystal Sentry. Right now, Vayne's eating a good amount of damage before this fight even starts. That's going to be a nice burst, though. It does get blocked, and now here we go into the Crystal Sentry. This is exactly where Nova wants to be fighting. They take out those wolves. There's the portal in. They find a stun on Isle of Joseph, but again, where's the focus? They can't get any kills because they are constantly hitting multiple targets. No one is really going after one target isolation style, and they are instead going to get two of them taken out. Truth, the last member alive, should be able to recall out of here, but again, these fights, in the actual team fights, Cloud9 is just looking so much better this game.
Yeah, and Cloud9 really played that last fight really well. One thing you can do against Taka is if you're all clumped together, it makes it very difficult for Taka to pick out one target to really get that execution damage that he has down. The damage that he has from his X-Retsu followed by that Aftershock. If you're not able to pick the target, I'm pretty sure it was kind of hard to tell, but it looked like the damage went down on Vayne's in that last fight, which again is really good for Cloud9 because Old School got pretty low in that fight. And, just the confusion of being all clustered together is enough that sometimes it can counter Taka.
All right, so yeah, that confusion definitely seems to be working out. Like I said, they looked like they wanted to go on to Vayne's, and then they found the stun on Isle of Joseph, so they switched on to Isle of Joseph, and then they switched on to Old School. It just feels like the members of Nova this game are not picking one target and trying to delete them, when that's really how their composition works. Right now, great call from Cloud9 to go for this fight. Another burst of Judgment comes down, will get blocked, but the damage has been done. Starboy is already running, doesn't have the fountain used just now, as so they are just going to be continuing to retreat, but underneath this turret, are there any options here? They're not going to be able to find anything. Triple kill for Old School on this box with a huge minion wave that had just gotten to the turret. This could be massive for Cloud9. They're going to get at least 2 turrets and start up the Kraken.
Absolutely. They're going to get these 2 turrets, get the Kraken, and this is really the Cloud9 that we expected to see come tonight. This team that came in first place in the Unified Finals, they're really starting to pull these games, these fights towards the mid game a lot more organized than they have been in the early game. In the early game, we've seen Old School getting caught out a little bit, having to back because he was on low health, and the fights were really going back and forth. But, the coordination that they have is just showing that, you guys won the first game, but we are the better team, and we are here to win this game.
All right, so maybe wanting to show that game 1 was a fluke. Cloud9 definitely stepped up in game number 2. They've got themselves a big 7,000 gold lead. Infusion's going to be reset by both sides, and Nova are going to have to pull something out in a hurry if they want to try and turn this game around, with Kraken lumbering her way towards the base. They're going to get spotted trying to set up an ambush just on the other side of the wall. And they haven't really been able to do any damage to Kraken. They jump on in, trying to find a fight, but where is the focus? Again, they're trying to get on to Old School, but he is just kiting backwards constantly. Truth can't get involved in this either. He's so far away from the rest of the team. This is just going to be Lone Delphi kind of isolated. He does get a bit of a heal. Isle of Joseph is low. Where's the movement speed boost? He jumps in onto Old School. Can he find this kill? He doesn't just yet. Finally, they get Old School down. Vayne's is just going to try and delay. He will prevent the ace as Isle of Joseph goes back towards his turret. But meanwhile, in the Nova base, Kraken is now working on that final crystal turret. and it's going to be able to take that down before Nova can finish off Kraken. So, yes, Nova got the fight, but they lost 2 turrets for it. I just don't know if that's going to be worth it.
Yeah, it's nice to pick up a little bit of gold, but is it really worth trying to fight the rest of this battle with defenseless Vein Crystal? As dominant as C9 has been in these previous fights, I really think that as long as they really don't get caught out, they can just push down this Vein Crystal, and there's not a whole lot that Nova can do to stop it.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen now just how long it takes Nova to find kills in these fights, and they have to be very careful. They need to get some better vision down. They really don't have much vision control at all. They have some good scout traps up in the lane, and that's going to go a long way towards spotting if Cloud9 try and just rush it down. But if they get caught out of rotation in any way, that's a viable strategy for Cloud9. It's just rush into the base and try and take down that crystal. And so you see both teams kind of playing very careful here, especially Nova, not wanting to step out too far because, like I said, they know if they do get spotted too deep, then Cloud9... And, we know that Nova has to come out at some point. They are setting up this party brush. Will they get spotted? The flare doesn't see them, but there goes the attack of the pack. So Nova knows what's happening now. They try and retreat, try and take out these wolves. Truth is very far back from the rest of the team. Nice positioning, is going to get the stun onto Old School, but Old School is now dishing out damage. Atlas Pauldron does go off onto him, so he can't find the damage he's looking for. He's going to fall. However, everyone on Nova is so low. Can Joseph and Veins finish this? They are going to try to, but Lone Delphi is healing so much. He's going to look to get onto Joseph. Pops that Kaku just to get a little bit more healing. Joseph goes for the crystal, but just doesn't have the damage. Veins is going to try as well, but again, as a captain especially, not going to be able to finish this game off, and Nova will extend this at least a little bit longer as Starboy tries to just lead these minions away and let Lone Delphi finish off this kill.
Actually looks like Starboy might be going up to start this start the Kraken.
Is he going to start the Kraken?
Maybe not. It looked like, with him leaving base and Delphi being able to clean up that kill, I really thought he was going to start up the Kraken. And, that seems to be, and here we go. Here's the Kraken start up. A little later than I would have liked. We have the Vox up at this point. It can be pretty risky for Vox to come check it himself. But if he does manage to get a steal down, it's what really can Nova do at that point? It's by then Veins will be back up. We've already got I Love Joseph up. It looks like they're just playing it safe, though. Yeah, just looks
they're not
like
going to be able to get the steal. This is going to get captured by Nova, and this is opportunity knocking. Nova able to find these last 2 team fights. They can get one more with Kraken pushing in. The death timer is going to be very, very long as we approach the 22-minute mark. They will have an opportunity to take this game in come from behind fashion. We'll see as they posture up. Again, you got the infusions on every single player. Still only a level 11 infusion for Starboy, but he is level 12 now. Here we go. They're looking for damage on the turret. Here comes the fight from Cloud9 trying to engage. Truth is so far away. He's not going to go down if this fight happens, but maybe he's going to be Starboy falling first. There's Attack of the Pack coming out once the fight is already in progress, and this is going to be Cloud9 just cleaning up. Lone Delphi, the only member left. The Wolves know where he is, but he's not going to be able to stop the 3-man push onto the crystal as Cloud9 will take game number 2, and this first semifinal is going to go to 3 games.
Yeah, very, very well played by Cloud9 there. I liked their opportunity that they had where they collapsed right at the end onto one person. Once the enemy Vein Crystal is exposed like that, whether the Kraken's up or not, you have 4 turrets defending your crystal. All you have to do is secure that 1 kill, and you're pretty much guaranteed the game at that point, and that's what we saw. Cloud9 collapsed, took advantage of Starboy being a little out of position, got that kill down, and they were able to follow up and end the game.
All right, so Cloud9 taking game number 2, forcing us into a game at 3. Nova had their opportunities, though. They really brought the fight to Cloud9 and showed that they are not a team to be looked over. And so we'll see game number 3. Which way is it going to go? To throw it back to Dragonborn to get us set up for the draft.
Well, man, it's gonna be really intense to see how it goes. We did see, I think, Cloud9 playing way more aggressive in the early game and played off. I mean, Fortress was an interesting pick. You guys talked about how that with the Adagio though would be pretty effective, and then we saw that Cloud9 just wanted to be the initiators. They built triple war treads. That is very, very fast. They did not want, because one of the advantages of Lyra is to get her team out of there. They did not want that Taka and that Gwen to be able to disengage effectively and then re-engage on their terms. So Cloud9 able to pick up a very strong win, though. I'll be honest. I mean, it's not because of Nova not trying their hardest. And honestly, that was close near the end. So Nova definitely has that fighting spirit. This is going to be coming down to the wire. It's going to be a close one, man. So looks like we're about ready to get into this next game. We're going to get into the next draft here, of course, in a few moments as well. But Day and Tasty, looking at these two teams, I mean, it seems like Cloud9 found what they need to, and they've got the momentum going into this next game. But it still seems like this series could go either way, as both these teams look very, very strong. So Dave, just looking at the game, I just wanted to get your thoughts real quick on how the whole matchup played out. Is with these two teams, they both look really, really strong. Does Nova have what it takes to win in Game 3, though, against Cloud9?
That's kind of my concern with Nova. We know C9 has a lot of practice under the belt. They have these long hours of practice daily that they do to stay at the top. And I'm kind of questioning Nova's endurance. Yes, they've proven that they can take a game off of Cloud9 in pretty spectacular fashion, might I add. It wasn't a landslide, but it was convincing. And I'm not sure I see the endurance there. Mm-hmm. The mental preparation for extended periods of gameplay. That's one of these things that, coming into a VG8 spot, though, they are, going to have to get that kind of practice in, and this is the best place to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks like we're ready to go as the draft has started. Game number 3 already going into bonus time. Cloud9 taking their time to think about this.
Absolutely, and I think Cloud9 definitely has to pay a little bit of respect out of the picks out of Game 1 still. The Lance and the Baron were a very, very powerful duo for Nova to have, and I'd like to see them get on a scaling composition like that again and really bring a strong game to Cloud9.
Okay, as we get into this, Grumpjaw take it off. Not surprised. Tasty, I think Grumpjaw over the last 2 weeks of this is at 100% participation in the banning and draft phase.
Yeah, very powerful pick, whether it's go as weapon or crystal utility, or even as a captain. So we are going to see that Glaive come through as the first pick, though. First time Glaive has been let through the draft, and it gets snatched up immediately by Cloud9. There's going to be the Kestrel going over to Nova, though.
And, Tasty, how do you feel about this Kestrel? Do you think, as far as Nova, do you think they're going to prefer Truth to be on this Kestrel in the lane? Or do you think it's something Delphi wants in the jungle, knowing this Glaive is on the table?
I would like to see it on Delphi in the jungle, but they have been running it thus far as a weapon carry in the lane, so I kind of expect to see them continue that trend, but we'll see. Maybe the rest of the draft from Cloud9 might end up influencing that decision.
And Kestrel taken off the table here, Gwen taken off the table, who's pretty good into Kestrel, followed up by the Landspan from Cloud9. So maybe not wanting Starboy to have that comfort that he did in the first game.
Yeah, definitely a smart choice there for Cloud9. So now, will they go for the captain? I would expect to see a captain pick come out from Nova so that they have the flexibility to choose where they want that Kestrel to go once they see the entirety of Cloud9's composition.
Yeah, and we do see a Fortress pickup here, which is kind of interesting because we have Lyra and Adagio both left on the table still. So this this could be a very strong possibility here for Cloud9 to be able to pick up that lane Adagio with the Weapon Glaive in the jungle and the Lyra for their roamer. And, you know, Lyra and Adagio into Fortress, you could say, isn't really the best because of the Mortal Wound, but with that Bright Bulwark, you might be able to hold them back enough where this Adagio and Glaive are really going to be able to ramp up their damage.
All right, so with that Fortress, I mean, we just saw I Love Joseph play it out of the jungle, but I still expect it to go to Starboy. They're going to go for the Adagio Rona, knowing that if this is going to be a weapon Kestrel, it could be a tough spot to put a Poison Shiv on. But with the Fortress already there, they have Mortal Wounds applications, and we'll see what they decide to answer with. Something that's going to be able to out-duel the Rona is going to be very important, because as of right now, if Rona jumps onto the Kestrel, it's going to be lights out.
Yeah, and you know, I'm kind of interested to see how this comp goes. I can see it going a couple ways. I could see Old School picking up this Adagio in the lane, but we also have seen him play some Rona. So, I mean, we could potentially have Veins on this Adagio with a Rona in the lane and a Crystal Glaive in the jungle. I mean, do you think that's something that we're going to see, or you think it's going to be a lane Adagio with a Roam Glaive?
I have a feeling it's going to be the actually with Cloud9, there's so many different ways they could do it. I would actually really like to see it be a lane Adagio with a jungle Rona and the Captain Glaive, but they can flex this composition so massively that we really just don't know where exactly it's going to end up going. That's one of the strengths of this Cloud9 roster, is so many of them can play multiple heroes that can be flexed into multiple positions.
Absolutely. Over the course of time, we've seen, you know, Old School play lane Glaive, play lane Rona, play lane Adagio, all of them with just miraculous success. And I think that's one of the strengths that Cloud9 as a roster has, is you never really know where they're going. You know, we saw Gabe Vizzle pick up that Rome Baptiste at the Unified Finals, and it just really shows you can't take Cloud9's hero pool for granted.
No, absolutely. It looks like we're ready to go into this game here in just a few moments, as should be getting started here in a few seconds. And the draft there was it's interesting because they kind of baited the double heal comp, but ultimately Cloud9 didn't bite completely because of that Fortress. Instead, I think, you know, you're going to see that Adagio come out, and the question is that going to be a lane Adagio support Glaive, or is that going to be a support Adagio lane Rona? We've seen all three of these heroes flexed into multiple positions.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how they really pull this flexibility off, not having Gabe Vizzle, this star roamer that we have. But I mean, if we were going to have a substitute, Vayne seems like a darn good one. And so we do have Old School locked in on this Rona too. So it's going to be a lane Rona and a jungle Glaive, with the Kestrel being in the lane on the side of Nova.
Halcyon Fold has begun.
All right, so game number 3 underway between Cloud9 and Nova Esports. Who will be moving on and be the first finalist for this split of VISPRO? And I mean, both of these teams looked extremely dominant in their games that they picked up the victory on. Nova had a chance in game number 2, but just weren't quite able to complete the comeback. So this early game start is interesting. Again, Nova opting to put as much gold as possible into both Truth and Lone Delphi. So keep your eyes on Truth. He's going to be this weapon Kestrel, but if they continue to have him duck down into the jungle for this early game to get him infused up with gold as quickly as they can. Oh, right now, early damage going on to Veins. One more Malice of Verdict will get the damage they need for the kill. They find first blood. Now, Old School wanted to set something up with I Love Joseph, but ends up finding himself very low. So does I Love Joseph, not respecting this early game damage from Kestrel and Samuel. Cloud9 gonna have to recall with their tails between their legs a bit, and now Nova wants to see if they can steal anything out of the jungle. Unfortunately for them, The treant they were looking for had already been captured, so instead they settle for the ancient treant. Not a bad compromise.
Absolutely, and there we see that really big spike that Samuel gains when he hits that level 2. You know, as a level 1 hero, Samuel really doesn't provide a whole lot of damage or utility or really anything for his team. But once you get that Drifting Dark, Samuel as a hero just completely changes, and we see that extra range and damage getting down and sniping Veins from behind that turret.
All right, so Nova off to a good start, finding that first blood, a little bit of extra gold in their pockets as a result, and getting that ancient treant. We'll see if Truth will be able to continue pressuring Old School. Old School does have himself that barbed needle now, so he's going to have a lot of sustain in the lane as long as he can get to the minions. But that's going to be, right now, where this lane is, this is perfect for Nova. You know, it forces Old School to have to come very far forward in order to farm up, and they can get a lot of damage down onto him or Veins when they so choose. But they're gonna go ahead and just let this lane stay here. They don't really, actually, nope, now they're gonna push it out because Truth wants to recall and go get some items so that he can stay on par with Old School. Gets himself a heavy steel and a 6 sins. So gonna be foregoing any sort of tension bow early on and going straight into the flat damage, which is the preferred build if you are going to be going for a weapon kestrel.
I agree. Getting that weapon power that helps you go invisible during the fight, especially against a heavy dive composition like this Glaive and Rona, definitely think it's a smart pickup. And we see Joseph jumping in and getting stunned, maybe getting picked off here. Really dangerous with his team so far back.
That was pretty dangerous, but thankfully for him, not going to have to pay for it. Old School trying to just stick around and take these minions and clear out the turret, but paying the price as these glimmer shots are connecting. So is Malice and Verdict. Both Veins and Old School so low, but they're just going to stay alive. Lone Delphi trying to make something happen under the turret. Truth nearly going down to I Love Joseph. But now Delphi's going to chase him down. That Drifting Dark will fade away, but up in the lane, Truth found the kill onto Old School. That's not going to be good for the health of this turret if Truth decides to stick around, but he's very low on health. But they know where Joseph and Veins are. The jungle just intensified, so the Crystal Sentry's going to get involved now. This could be a mistake from Nova, but are they going to be able to find the kill? Truth rotating around, finds the kill onto Veins, and now has an easy setup onto I Love Joseph with that Glimmer Shot connecting. Crystal Sentry still doing work, though, and Old School coming back is going to be able to find one. Now those Malice and Verdicts from Delphi is going to force him away. He's going to try and rotate around, but Starboy has enough movement speed to avoid this, and Old School thinks better of going in, but 4-1. All of a sudden, some pretty frantic fighting there from both sides.
Yeah, I think Truth did really good there, the way he rotated around, picked up those extra kills, putting a little gold in his pocket. Yes, he did go down, but anytime you trade 3 kills for 1, that's a win in my book.
All right, so Nova, like I said, definitely getting the better of that trade. They didn't really get a whole lot of damage on the turret, like I'm sure they would have. Kills Old School. Oh, he's in a bad spot as he gets stunned up by the active camo. It's taken down very low. Even I Love Joseph has to afterburn defensively. They're going to continue chasing, just putting this chip damage onto these heroes, making life difficult for them to try and defend this turret. Lots of damage going on the turret. Veins is in trouble going down, but he's going to narrowly get himself out of dodge. Now, Old School is going to be the next target as he just starts taking this damage. The turret takes some big damage. A nice afterburn from I Love Joseph, but he's going to pay the price as he falls. Old School is going to go down as well, and Nova are just taking it to Cloud9 in a big way. If someone finish off that turret, it's got a sliver of health left. They want to get the triple kill. They get the ace. Now the turret will go down, and with a ace buff wave of minions, this next turret's going to take a little bit of damage. Not too much, though, as the respawns are coming through. But Nova Esports 7-1 with a turret down in the first 6 minutes.
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed by Nova thus far this game. You know, I questioned at the beginning, do they have the endurance to go into a late game 3 with Cloud9? And they're pretty convincing right now that they can hold their own here.
Absolutely, and why not? After the way that those couple of fights have looked, I would be feeling pretty confident as well. With a big kill lead, it's translated now into a big gold lead as well. 4,000 gold in favor of Nova here in the first 7 minutes. And I mean, they are just, again, this early aggression Cloud9 has not really been able to deal with out of Nova Esports.
Absolutely. And I do think Cloud9 has a lot of potential here still. Both Glaive and Rona are more of a late game scaling comp, especially into a double range carry comp. So I think Cloud9 has their real spike in damage coming up here in the near future. So that's going to be something to watch out. If Glaive and Rona are able to get on the same target in the backline, they're going to be able to put down the damage and the CC very easily. And it's going to be up to Delphi and, the way he positions, into this double melee comp. Those drifting darks are going to be the key, getting the Malice and Verdicts down, and we see Old School dropping.
Just completely getting caught out. Old School was there. He just gets dropped, and now Starboy going to apply some extra movement speed to allies onto I Love Joseph, but they're not able to find that kill. I don't think they need to find that kill. They can just start putting pressure onto this next turret, but with Truth being low on energy, they're going to go ahead and back out and say, hey, there's a gold mine that's worth an immense gold payout. Let's go ahead and pick that up instead.
Absolutely, and I really like the coordination that Nova has. They got that kill, pushed out the wave, and immediately turned to that gold mine with 3 of them to make sure they could secure it. And now they have time where they can push over into the side of the jungle for C9.
All right, so Nova gonna back off, clear out their own side of the jungle, and again sending Truth and Delphi into the jungle as a pair, while Starboy just stays up in the lane to make sure none of these minions go to waste, as he just takes only the ones that are about to be taken down by their own minions, and actually not going to take any of them this time as the rotation of Truth comes through in time. So they're going to be very happy with that. Just so much gold getting put onto Truth, and you can see it in his itemization. He's already got 2 tier 3s and a bunch of tier 2s in his inventory, whereas you look across the board at Old School, just has the 1 tier 3 item completed, and the power difference is showing when they go for these fights. When Nova looks to engage, they're able to just do so much damage that Cloud9 can't react to. Now again, going to be sieging up this turret, putting some good damage down onto it, while Old School tries to defend. I Love Joseph coming from the backside. Are they going to be able to find anything? They get a nice stun. Big red mist is going down. Here's the verse. Is going to get blocked though, and everyone from Nova is still alive. Oh, but never mind. Truth gets taken out underneath the turret. Lone Delphi throws down the Oblivion. It's going to actually put just Veins to sleep, but Delphi should be able to get out of here alongside Starboy. So they lose 1, but they did get some pretty solid damage onto that turret. Almost down now. Lone Delphi's going to try and clear out these minions, protect the turret. The damage just isn't there from Cloud9 to be able to take that tier 1 yet.
Yeah, we're not quite at an item spike enough where Glaive has a lot of upfront damage, so it was really good that they were able to get Truth underneath the turret there and clean up that kill. We'll see Joseph pick up the Aftershock here, but we also see Truth picking up a Monocle, and these... the damage that Nova Esports is able to put out is really going to be dangerous for the fact that Joseph and Old School, who are the carries, have to be in the front line to do their damage.
Yeah, it makes things difficult. They have, like you said, they have to go on the front lines, and then Truth and Delphi just pepper them with this damage that they've got built up with this advantage. They stack up so well the longer these fights go, and I really like the itemization from Nova, given the fact that you have Old School who's going to be trying to sustain and stay alive a long time. That just plays into now the itemization that Nova has with a Broken Myth and a Breaking Point. They're looking for longer, drawn-out fights as well, because their damage is just going to continue to ramp up.
Yeah, and Delphi gets a lot of free reign in these fights too, having this Frostburn into the double melee. It's just this Samuel was such a good pick where he can get the splash damage down and get the slows down on both heroes with limited energy use.
All right, so now fighting around this gold mine perhaps as Nova looks to throw out a little bit of damage, but Cloud9 very wisely backs themselves off away from danger. And this is where the game can get a little bit dangerous for Nova. If they kind of stall out and aren't able to continue to apply this pressure that they've been able to do all game long. If they start playing passively and waiting for Cloud9 to make moves, it gives Cloud9 an opportunity to get back into this game. Once Old School gets himself a little bit more defense, now he's got tier 2 defense in both armor and shield. If he gets himself then the breaking point as well, he can start really dishing out damage in these fights. But this is what I like to see. Truth going aggressive, going right on up, taking out that turret, and then getting himself out to safety, perhaps. No, he's going to get caught by Joseph, but look at the damage before the rest of Cloud9 can get there. Joseph's already down, but where's the rest of Nova? They just completely abandoned Truth, and you got to figure, like, that's a big mistake, no?
It's pretty rough to say. So Truth did trade a turret for his life, which you could say is good, but this gives Cloud9 an advantage to get the gold miner and potentially pick up more kills, as they're now in a 2v3 advantage.
I just don't. I mean, we saw how much damage Truth was able to get down onto I Love Joseph. If the rest of the team is there, Truth steals the gold miner. That is not going to be good news for Cloud9. What a one shot! That is a big mistake from Cloud9, because the angle that one shot's going to be coming from. They do get one kill returned for their troubles, but that is not going to be what they were looking for. Now these Malice and Verdicts, Truth coming along as well with the Frostburn. He's going to be slowing them down. That's going to straight kill for Lone Delphi, and now Truth joining the fray. It's a double kill and an ace. Nova. Wow, what a turnaround.
That was so well played by Nova. I'm almost speechless. And we were discussing that you should know the snipe is going to come in. Kestrel has that ultimate that has unlimited range, and we have vision. Samuel and Fortress were there, and they just let the snipe come through, and that's a huge gold gain out of Nova here.
Not only getting that gold mine, but also picking up the ace afterwards. And tier 3 turret is down. This is just all coming up Nova now. And going back to that one mistake I thought they made when they could have gone for a fight but didn't. Right now, Nova is looking for fights. They are finding fights. That's a lot of damage onto Old School. Vane's going to be the target just because he's there. I Love Joseph tries to step up, but he's going to get turned away quickly. Crystal Sentry, they aren't even caring about the Crystal Sentry. It's actually almost down at this point, a little about half health, but they just don't even worry about it. That's going to be another 2 kills for Nova. I Love Joseph did get himself out onto the other side of the fold, but Crystal Sentry gets defeated, and Nova is just having their way with Cloud9.
Yeah, and fortunately for Cloud9, it's a little too early for Kraken yet. We have her coming on the fold here in a second, but they're going to be back up in time where they could potentially defend. Joseph does pick up the enemy jungle and get out, but Nova is really impressing me this game. They cleaned up 2 kills very quickly on Vanes and Old School, and they're showing that they're ready to be in the Vainglory 8.
Absolutely showing that they are ready. I mean, if they can bring the fight like this, they are putting the rest of the Vainglory on notice. You need to be very wary of Nova's early game. They are going to be finding some damage onto Vanes, getting a couple of breaking point stacks. Now the fight's going in. Cloud9 actually looking to engage. They get onto Truth. They take Truth out early. That could be huge. Can they actually complete this fight? It's going to be the Oblivion block. Lone Delphi just trying to throw out these Malice and Verdicts. There's the fountain coming through from Vanes. That's going to keep them going. But now the Crystal Sentry getting involved. They need to make sure they don't overstep. Lone Delphi still staying safe, but look at the damage he's able to dish out with these Malice and Verdicts. They have such massive range when they're empowered, and now Cloud9 are actually on the run. Lone Delphi doesn't have a lot of energy, but with that corrupted genius, all of a sudden gets about half of his bar back. Not quite going to be able to find a kill to answer, but only 1 kill going the way of Cloud9 in a fight that they looked for. Nova's got to be pretty happy with that, and they can actually start off the Kraken because of the way the positioning worked out. This is going to be risky, though, because Cloud9 is going to be able to get back here in time.
Absolutely, and we've seen Joseph and Old School take huge advantage of Truth revealing himself by using his ult, and I'm not sure I'm in love with this Kraken take. You know, we have a half-health Kraken walking around now, and both teams just kind of dancing around it. And Starboy and Lone Delphi both back. This is interesting, to say the least.
All right, so that's going to be another one shot coming out. Does hit onto Joseph. Good little bit of damage there, but then you do back off fully, and maybe now can look to re-engage. It's going to be Starboy going on forward. They're trying to find an opportunity, but Cloud9 backing off very quickly.
Truth has picked up this second monocle now too, so his damage, we thought it was a lot before, and he's going to be bringing a little more punch to the table now.
Oh, absolutely. Going to be very difficult if they can't jump onto Truth, but that's the key for Cloud9. If they can jump onto Truth, they can do a lot of damage and can take him out of the fights early on. Right now, they kind of get on opposite sides of the fold. Who's going to find the upper hand? Kraken going to get started up. Cloud9 knows about this. I think, well, they're going to find out right now as they jump on in. Vane's going to throw down that burst. It gets blocked, but Truth in trouble. Going to get red mist on, and he goes down. Again, when Cloud9 can jump onto Truth, they can find these fights. Delphi going to be doing what he can. He still has a lot of damage that they just aren't quite able to contend with just yet. They take down Truth. They got him down for 25 seconds. That's going to be a stun onto Delphi. Goes down with the Drifting Dark, getting a lot of damage out. Crystal Sentry going to be involved now. Starboy is going to go low, but they've already gotten one kill onto Joseph. Old School trying to chase down Delphi. Starboy falls, but the Crystal Sentry's going to start onto Old School now. That's going to put Old School to sleep, and is he going to fall? Drifting Dark, one more Malice and Verdict should do it. No energy, but no problems. Lone Delphi gets that kill. One shot will not hit onto Veins. That would have been an ace if it had. Would have been a huge, huge play, but these fights are absolutely ridiculous now.
Yeah, Delphi is being a huge playmaker right now, able to get this Frostburn damage down onto Old School and kited him around that Crystal Sentry, which helped him pick up the kill. And then Vanes was left so low he couldn't do anything. And, you know, again, Nova is playing this so well. I don't really see Cloud9 being able to defend against this. They're so far ahead at this point, and their positioning for the most part has been well. I'd like to see Truth play a little further back where he's not going to get picked the way he has the past couple fights. But, you know, now with this Kraken pushing down the lane and the choke point turret already gone, it's not looking good for Cloud9. Got a one-shot, one-kill connecting with Vanes.
Oh, yeah, they're going to be jumping on in again, trying to get onto Truth. Truth is kiting out nicely this time, though, using the slows from Lone Delphi, and they got a lot of damage on the Joseph. Vane's going to get caught up. He's going to go down. Old School going to be the next target. Jumps out of the Oblivion nicely, but it just doesn't matter. I Love Joseph is down. Old School is down. That's an ace. That's the game, as this will be Nova Esports taking down Cloud9 Denominate.
Very impressive play out of Nova to take down the team that just won the Unified Finals, you know. Granted, we're missing Gabe Bizzle, who, you know, is definitely holding a very convincing spot as the best roamer in North America or EU right now. You know, we'll have to see as we get to Worlds if he can continue to hold that title, but Nova just played so well this last game. They, you know, Truth had a lot of benefit in this where he was baiting out that hard engage out of Old School and Joseph, and Delphi just followed up with that splash damage from the Malice and Verdict and Drifting Dark.
And how about that 5-0-11 scoreline from Lone Delphi? Absolutely phenomenal play from him on this Samuel. There's just no answer from Cloud9. Even when they were able to take down Truth immediately, they just didn't have the damage to take out the Samuel as well. Constantly able to kite back into the Crystal Sentry in order to get a little bit of additional help in those team fights. And Nova moving on to the finals of VISPRO. This is now going to be the first time that Old School will not be a VISPRO champion. He had won every single previous VISPRO event. Nova putting an end to that streak.
Yeah, man, that's kind of incredible, guys, to think he's not even going to be in the finals. He'll be playing in the third place match, but Nova coming in here and just really shocking us all, shocking myself especially here in this game, in this series, really. And even in game number 2, when they clearly had seemed to lose the game quite handily, they found ways to come back into it and keep it close near the end. But, Cloud9, man, just not able to draft into this new young roster, maybe not knowing them that well, not able to understand where their comforts and strong points are, and definitely getting surprised and stunned here. And going to game 3, means that obviously a very close match, but these games that they won, they seem to do it in a little bit more decisive fashion than I think a lot of us were anticipating.
Absolutely. This kind of brings me into the next game now. Do we think we could see a second upset of the day?
Yeah, that's a good
Nova
point.
bringing their A game to the table here against Cloud9, pulling off an upset I don't think any of us really expected. I was at the beginning, I could see a game 3, but I thought Cloud9 was going to take it in the end.
Yeah, I mean, it really was hard to kind of put a finger on where it was going to go. Cloud9 looked good in game number 3 for up to the mid game, but then just right at the dead. Lone Delphi on that Samuel just kept them in that game. The fights were going in favor of Cloud9, but ultimately they weren't able to get the ace. That was so critical. Lone Delphi literally putting his team on his back and carrying them to the end. That is the next matchup coming up, ladies and gentlemen. Team Solomon versus Tempo Storm. After this quick break, you're not going to want to miss it, as our second series of best of 3 will be here live on VIS right after the break.
Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find each other and band together. Well, that's why there's Band. It's a mobile app that allows people to come together using common interests. With Band, you can find fellow gamers, chat, schedule gaming sessions, and conduct polls. Stage epic battles with friends while sharing videos and photos along the way. So try Band today. Band. Be together.
Everybody, welcome back. We're getting ready for our next matchup of tonight. It's our last matchup. So we only got 2 semifinals, but man, these semis have definitely surprised us and are getting very close. This is another one that could be very close. Team Solomid's the favorite coming into this match, but if it is anything like what we saw last matchup, anything is game. Anything can happen. And we'll just have to wait and see here. It is, of course, the second, the really strong, dominant Team Solomid, who did get 3rd place in Live Championship, but, going into that powerhouse Cloud9, not able to make it to the finals. They're now here with the chance to go to the finals, here up against Tempo Storm. They nominate Tasty Bacon. As we get into this, what are some of the key things to watch? What does Tempo Storms need to do to go up against TSM? And maybe a little bit of a pause there until we get into this. I mean, we obviously know that Team Solomid, with their full roster, FlashX not playing, Evol would be, really be definitely favored. But Evol's been playing really well. Day, is Evol versus Flash, is that really an issue here when you have Bonsi and Best Truck NA?
I don't even necessarily think it's as much that it's Von C and Best Chalk. It really doesn't matter who your roamer is. I think it's that Evil and Flash have very similar play styles in general, so it just works well for them. We do have, maybe not the same synergy level that we'd expect if Flash was here, but I really do like Evil on this lineup. Obviously it's not a permanent shift, but I think for the situation at hand, they couldn't have put a better roam in for Flash X than someone who just has that same adaptivity level.
Yeah, absolutely. And we actually are getting into the draft here now for game number 1 between these two powerhouse teams, these two very
Absolutely. And so we got the Glaive and the Lyra taken off the board very early in the draft with a very quick Adagio pickup out of TSM. And a Grumpjaw to follow it up for Tempo Storm.
Both of these teams knowing exactly what they want out of this draft. Going pretty quickly. Adagio, Grumpjaw. Grumpjaw has been banned away pretty consistently. We finally get to see him out in the fold here in our second semifinal. Going to be interesting to see how Tempo Storm makes it work.
I saw a very impressive performance out of Hyde on this Grumpjaw last week, so I hope to see the same thing again.
I hope we don't, because they have a Kestrel, and Hyde on Kestrel is a sight to behold. He is a self-proclaimed Kestrel one-trick, and it is pretty special to watch him get his hands on that hero. So maybe a bit of a lapse of draft from Team Solid, or maybe just feeling like they can deal with Hyde's Kestrel as they let it go through.
I mean, Kestrel's in an interesting position for this team, though, because I think Selena also plays an amazing Kestrel, but however, it'll obviously be up in the lane if that's the case. So we still have this flexibility out of this Grumpjaw, This could be your 2 carries that you got to think about countering, or this could be moved into a roam position where you then have to worry about this final pick out of Tempo Storm countering your completed draft.
All right, so it will be Vox as the next pick for TSM. That's likely going to go up into the lane with Best Chuck, which means Evol is most likely going to be on that Adagio. So there's a Taka for Von C. This is a pretty devastating composition in terms of comfort picks for the players of Team Solo Mid. We know Von C loves this Taka. He hasn't played it a ton of late, but this used to be his main hero going all the way back. He can be super aggressive on it. Going to be fun to watch if it does end up being that Taka-Kestrel matchup. But with a pedal coming through, perhaps this is going to be Hyde on a pedal this time around.
That's how it would appear. So it looks like we're going to have this Grumpjaw moved into the roam position, and Selena is going to have this Kestrel up in the lane. So I do like the comfort that TSM has, though. We have Best Chuck's going to be coming in on this Vox, which we know he plays a very good, strong, comfortable Vox. And, you've already touched base on the fact that Taka used to be Von C's favorite hero.
All right. Well, we're getting into this game number 1 between Team Solo Mid, Tempo Storm. Will it be another upset, or will we be having TSM dominate? We're going to find out in a few moments as we get into game. Tasty Bacon to dominate, taking it away.
All right. Thank you very much, Dragonborn, as we do get underway our second semifinal of the evening. Team Solo Mid taking on Tempo Storm. We mentioned last week of the regular season, Tempo Storm had a victory over Team Solo Mid. So we'll see if TSM is going to be looking to get their vengeance against Tempo Storm. Tempo Storm starting off aggressive, going to look to steal away this Treant. They do so successfully and then just quickly back out. So that's going to be a slight edge for Tempo Storm at the start of the game, but that early lead doesn't really amount to much unless you really try and push the envelope early.
Yeah, you really don't pick up a whole lot just pushing that middle Treant. You're losing out on a little bit of lane farm to exchange, so what you really gain is pretty minuscule. And you are giving TSM that advantage of Best Chuck and Von C were able to split that back gold, and that's going to give Chuck a level advantage here.
level advantage to start, but that's going to be diminished very quickly. Lost by Toph on this Grump Jaw, trying to get back into this mustache bush, but Evil is just keeping him at bay. As the Best Chuck pushes this minion wave underneath the turret, Selena's going to be fine for farming up there, though. No troubles at all. I'm going to be watching Hyde on this Petal, though. This is a pick that I haven't really seen him play much, if at all. So it's a very diverse pick, can be really carry hard or just falls flat. Right now, Von C looking to get onto Lost Boy Toph on this Grump Jaw, but is he going to pay for it? Selena actually ends up being the first one to go down. First blood for Team Solo Mid. Now Hyde goes in aggressively. That was a mistake as he's going to fall. And now Von C can look to try and take down Lost Boy Toph, and he will be successful. It's not an ace, but it is a 3-for-0 in favor of TSM.
And we see Von C playing that comfort. Typically we see Taka's struggle into this Petal, and Von C played it really well there. We noticed Best Chuck got those Munions down. Von C executed on it very quickly, getting to that back line where Kestrel was, forcing Tempo Storm back, and they were able to clean up all 3 kills on that one.
And so definitely not the start Tempo Storm we're hoping for after their early invade, and Team Solo Mid going to be pretty happy with those kills. Tempo Storm going to have to try and regroup. Look at the build coming out from Hyde, though, going for 4 crystal bits, all about that early game damage.
Yeah, and we do see a lot of Petals do this. The scaling works really well when you do build into this really cheap build. It allows you to have a lot of early game aggression, which is needed into the Taka. But Von C, with 2 kills and an assist already, has already picked up this tension bow pre-3 minutes.
All right, so early tension bow from the Taka. And that's going to be pretty painful when he decides to go in aggressively on to Hyde, if he decides to go in aggressively. I mean, we'll have an opportunity to do so before those sentries spawn, but for now, just going to be using that extra damage to farm up that much faster. When he decides to go up to the lane as well, it's going to be a lot of burst onto Selena. And, I mean, early tension bows, they are pretty powerful. They can really get you snowballed far ahead before your opponents have a chance to even react.
Yeah, the nice thing with tension bow is the earlier you get it, the more effective the gain is out of that burst, because it does the same damage no matter what point in the game you're at. So with the health pools being as low as they are, that is a big chunk of missing life that you're going to have with the Rex Ratsu, Kaiten, and tension bow proc or following it up.
Alright, so Team Solo Mid, we rotating as a team, looking to find someone or make sure that they don't get caught themselves. Meanwhile, now Best Chuck going back into the lane. He has himself, a little bit behind CS. Von C finding Hyde, getting a lot of damage down, but those Munions able to return quite a bit alongside Lost Boy Toph. Now Hyde is going to try and find him, but movement speed a little bit too much for him to be able to chase down, but they have plenty of vision. Bonzi's going to try and go back in. He looks for a kill, but the fountain from Lost Boy will keep him alive, and it ends up being Hyde who gets the kill onto Von C. Bit of over-aggression.
Little over-aggression there, costing Von C his life. I do like that Evil saved his fountain, though. So that's going to be a pretty key thing here. We have Lost Boy's fountain is going to be down for 40 seconds, and Von C is already back up. So I think TSM could push a lot of aggression here, knowing that fountain is already burned.
All right, so fountain down, but like you said, can they take advantage of the situation? It looks like they're just going to be recalling, so not really going to be able to push the issue despite that big cooldown being unavailable. Von C going to have to see if he starts reining it in a bit after going for that kill aggressively and coming up short. Will that actually cause him to play a little bit more defensively? I don't expect it to, because it is Von C after all, but Hyde now having a Frostburn, first item on Petal. Frostburn is absolutely devastating for opponents to deal with, because it makes it so difficult to get away from those Munions. Hyde's going to walk right into Von C, though. That is not what he was expecting to find in that top rush.
Absolutely not. And I'm really interested to see where Von C is going with this build. It looks like he might be looking for a monocle to follow up this tension bow.
Well, if he does go there, he's going to be looking for that big engagement damage. Right now, Hyde trying to rejoin. The one-shot, one-kill came out from Selena. Just trying to get some damage onto Team Solid, trying to keep them off of this turret. They've done a good job thus far of not really letting them siege up at all. But TSM just really trying to keep this pressure on. Now they're going to get some good damage onto that turret. Lost Boy coming back up. But where is Hyde? Hyde is still clearing out the jungle. They do get an eat onto Von C. He is going to fall as they pull him underneath the turret. Excellent play from Lost Boy. Now Best Chuck is the target. He's going to get slowed by that Frostburn. The spontaneous combustion will finish him off. All of a sudden, Tempo Storm swinging the momentum right back in their favor. They're going to get this turret for their troubles as well.
Yeah, level 6 was a huge spike for Lost Boy there. With the side of TSM not having any stuns, it's really going to rely heavily on Evol getting a Crucible and being able to block that ult from the Grumpjaw.
All right, so reflex block's going to be very, very important now after that first kill with the Grumpjaw stuffed coming through. When are they going to build them, though? Right now, they've just got that Crucible from Evol. You know, that can go a good way towards helping them out with it, but I feel like the two carries are going to need reflex blocks of their own as well, between active camos that they're going to have to try and deal with, as well as that stuffed. Things are going to get pretty hectic in the middle of these team fights. Right now, Best Chuck going to get spotted going aggressive into the jungle a little, but Hyde and the rest of Tempo Storm not really there to answer. And so we just kind of go back to the farm game. Tempo Storm currently with about a 2,000 gold lead. I'm not sure if they are aware that they're that far ahead because of the kills being even, but with that turret down in their favor, they've got to have at least some kind of idea.
Yeah, and we do see Von C committing into this monocle build, but he also has picked up a level 8 infusion here, and so has Hyde on this pedal. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this next fight goes, because it can be a pretty detrimental loss when you've bought that infusion to try to win the next fight, and then if you lose it out, that's 500 wasted gold you have at this point. And a wonderful pickup timing there out of Tempo Storm on this gold mine as well.
And that is a nice, immense gold payout that they grabbed for themselves. Let's see how TSM are going to have to answer, because TSM are the ones that now have to make moves to try and answer Tempo Storm. That's going to be a broken myth coming out for Best Chuck. That's something we haven't really touched on too much, is the fact that with it being a weapon Taka, it is the Crystal Vox. It does do really well into pedal because you can get those resonance bounces off of her munions, but other than that, I think they're really just going to be counting on the fact that Hyde and Selena, along with Lost Boy Tough, are going to be grouped up pretty frequently, and the positioning is now going to become that much more important.
Absolutely, and I really can't stress enough the weight that we have to put on Evol with this Crucible here. We still don't have a block out of Best Chuck or Von C, so blocking this stuffed ult is going to be the key thing that TSM needs to do here, because if Lost Boy's allowed to swallow anybody on the other team, there's just no way for them to contest it. It's going to be a 2v3 for the remaining of the ult.
All right, so now up in the lane, there's going to be an opportunity. Stuffed lands onto Best Chuck. Can they find the fight now? Glimmer shots coming out. Big burst will deter them for a moment. Hyde going down low, but healing back up with those spontaneous combustions. However, it ends up being Tempo Storm that have to walk away from this one with their health low. So despite getting that stuffed onto the Vox, they really aren't able to find anything. Von C trying to find a kill. He gets one under the turret. Looks to be the only one they will get, as the minions are now cleared out. But Team Solo Mid looking good in that team fight.
Absolutely, and one thing I did want to point out about Evol there is, he wasn't able to block the Grumpjaw ult, but instead he bootsed past the Grumpjaw to make sure that when Best Chuck did get spit out, that Verse of Judgment was ready to come out, which really didn't allow Hyde or Selena to be in a position to capitalize on it.
All right, so how are TSM going to react to the stuffed? That's the big question when you're up against a Grumpjaw. that time their answer was, well, when it goes down, we're just going to follow and chase him through so that when Vox gets spit out, they can just completely commit to the fight. It worked out that time. Is this now going to force the members of Tempo Storm to have to sort of adjust the way they play when they go for the stuff? Because I feel like when you go for stuff, there's two strategies a lot of teams go for. One is to try and grab a target and then run away. The other is to grab a target and try and fight and find kills before you spit them out.
Yeah, with the comp that we have out of Tempo Storm here, it's really just going to depend on the positioning when Lost Boy gets that ult down. You know, if Selena and Petal are hide on this Petal are in a position where they can hard engage on the enemy team, that's definitely going to be a good use of the ult. But, you know, with the thought to keep in mind that Best Chuck is on this Crystal Vox and is going to have a lot of AoE damage down with Lost Boy Toph being in the front line.
So Tempo Storm going to try and start up another gold miner here. TSM is right around the corner though, so they need to be careful. Ooh, big Glimmer Shot lands onto Best Chuck.
And steals the health camp.
Yep, steals away the tree and secures the gold miner as well. Another immense gold payout for Tempo Storm. They've been doing a really good job with the objective focus around the middle of the map, but these team fights are going to get riskier and riskier for them, especially now with Best Chuck having himself an Eve of Harvest. He's going to be able to stick around during these engagements for a long time.
Absolutely, and you know we do see one turret for one turret at this point, and we're getting up to where the Kraken's going to be on the fold. So these upcoming team fights are going to play a very drastic role in how the rest of the game goes. If Chuck's able to get resonance down on Lost Boy and get a lot of those resonance bounces off to poke out Selena and Hyde, it's really going to help them in these team fights where this Petal is normally able to zone them out.
Well, I mean, looking at the way the pressure is going, even despite the fact that Tempo Storm has been doing such a good job of getting these gold miners and trying to push the issue in the lane, TSM is still able to continuously push the lane towards Tempo Storm's side of the map and alleviate a lot of that pressure. This feels like, they're, even though the team fights have been kind of mixed results, the actual rotations themselves have also been very much hit or miss for both of these sides. Like Tempo Storm sometimes makes these great rotations and allows themselves to pick up things like the gold miner, but then other times they make these rotations and just get caught out of position, and TSM ends up pushing the lane right back onto their side of the map and kind of undoing a lot of their hard work. But right now TSM maybe going to be looking for an engagement. Here we go. It's going to be some resonance bounces starting up onto Lost by Top. Wait for it comes out, but it's not in time to silence up Lost by Top. Evil is going to get melted. Von C goes down as well. Best Chuck 1 versus 3, not going to be able to do it as a triple kill comes out from Selena with that active camo stun. Tempo Storm, a big team fight.
Absolutely huge team fight there. I was just mentioning that Von C had picked up this second monocle and was going to be able to delete Selena if he had the opportunity to get on. During Von C's X-Retsu, Lost Boy Toph was able to get that stuffed ult down to interrupt it, and it was just incredibly well played out of Tempo Storm there.
Very, very well played fight. Get the turret off of their troubles. The tier 3 turret is now down. That choke point is open. Tempo Storm with a bit of momentum here. Team Solomid still very much in this game, though. It's not out of reach by any stretch. They are 5K of gold behind, actually more closer to 4K right now, but they can definitely still get themselves back into this one. The blocking of Stuffed really needs to start coming through. It's a difficult ability to block. The timing of it is pretty tough to get down, but it is so important when you're up against a Grumpjaw that needs to be avoided, or you have to have some way of getting a stun immediately after. And unfortunately for TSM, the only stun they have is from a Verse of Judgment. So really not any effective ways to stop the Stuffed once a Lost Boy Toph does land it on someone.
Absolutely, and that's why I feel like when you do allow Grumpjaw through the draft and allow your enemy to pick it up, Catherine is one of those heroes that functions really well into a Grumpjaw, whether it's in the roam or in the jungle position. I really would have liked to see TSM prioritize at least some form of direct stun they could have got down into this Grumpjaw, whether it be a Glaive, a Catherine, or really just anything at this point, because Lost Boy Toph is really dominating the fold right now.
Well, Lost Boy Toph, the Grumpjaw ultimates are so important. That's going to be a one-shot connecting onto Von C. Tempest Storm, again, just trying to make sure they get as much damage down onto TSM before these fights even break out as possible. Lost Boy Toph goes on in, but that's not... He doesn't get a target there. I believe he did get blocked by that Crucible, so nice use from Evol, but look at the cooldown difference. That stuff is going to be back up again well before the Crucible is available, so Tempo Storm could just kind of sit back, wait for stuff to be off cooldown, and go for another fight. And that's seems to be exactly what they're looking to do, is they're actually going to be recalling, maybe topping up their items, grabbing some infusions, and getting themselves ready to fight once again.
Yeah, it was a very impressive block by Evol. We were just discussing how hard that ult is to block. Evol showing that these top tier roamers can do it, though. These captains are, skilled enough, quick enough with their fingers that, it's good timing is going to either make or break this game.
Well, with that timing, you can see TSM just sticking together. Same with Tempo Storm. Neither side wants to let anyone get caught out because they know if one person gets caught, that's going to be a huge turn of events. And now TSM coming in aggressively a little bit. Tempo Storm just happy to say, if you want to come into our jungle, feel free. We were more than happy to fight with our Crystal Sentry on our side, but Kraken gonna get aggroed a little bit. Maybe Tempo Storm trying to force TSM to come to them, trying to force them to come into a fight. I don't think the Tempo Storm really wants to go for this Kraken. You can see just constantly playing with its aggro, but now that TSM hasn't made a move to go in for this, they're actually gonna start to actually work on the Kraken, but again, just very tentative Kraken damage being done at the moment.
I think they're more so trying to bait out a push out of solo mid right now, which would be pretty advantageous to them if they were able to bait them into their tri-bush just where some of the players of Temple Storm are out of vision. But we've lost that advantage at this point, and now we see Team Solo mid trying to push a little bit of advantage here. And unfortunately, Evol did just get the block baited out by Grumpjaw's A, not his ult.
Oh, he tried to
but
go
a
in, but
beautiful block by Von C.
Excellent job from Von C, but now it's going to be TSM looking to go in. Wait for it. Silences two. It's a lot of damage being done. Hide is low. Spontaneous Combustion is going to come out. Selena in a bad spot, though, is going to get blown up by Von C and the Burst of Judgment. Von C looking for more. Goes on in, finds another kill. Does end up falling to Lost Boy Toph. Best Chuck and A is low, but they have the healing from Evol. Can they steal away this Treant as well? Lost Boy Toph really wants to secure that one. He does get it for himself, but ends up being a 2-for-1 in favor of TSM.
Yeah, one thing that worked out really well for TSM there is Best Chuck did hit all three enemies with his ult, and that was a lot of resonance damage on this Crystal Vox that spread out to the team.
All right, so now with that fight going the way of TSM, I figure that's going to give them a bit of confidence going into the rest of this game. Been so back and forth, 20.5 minutes in, 6-7 on the kills. Still about a 4K gold lead for Tempo Storm, but it just really doesn't feel like they have that much of an edge over Team Solo Mid.
It doesn't feel like they have that much of an edge, and I do like the build path that Von C has gone at this point. He has a lot of burst damage, but he's also, picked up this metal jacket, which is important for them because Evol, as a ranged hero, is not always going to be in the front with this Taka who's able to dive. So I'm really hoping Von C is able to block some of this damage out of the Kestrel, but we see he may have been a little out of position there. He was caught out where the pedal was able to slow him and Hyde was able to get those continuous bursts down.
Evol's going to go down as well, and so all of a sudden, after a really nice team fight for Team Solo Mid, they lose out 2, and this is almost certainly going to be Kraken going the way of Tempo Storm. And as long as they get this without issue, which, Vox, Crystal Vox, not exactly the best at stealing a Kraken, but that's also going to become a problem for TSM with Kraken pushing in. Crystal Vox does not do well at taking down Kraken in general. So this could be a bit of a troubling situation for TSM to deal with.
Yeah, the Crystal Vox definitely doesn't give you the same defense against the Kraken like it used to when Resonance was able to proc on that Kraken. You could sit there and wail on the Kraken and just deal continuous damage to the enemy. That was taken away several patches ago. And, Weapon Taka also really doesn't have a whole lot of objective damage. He doesn't have that Storm Crown that we're used to seeing out of Ataka. So, yes, he has a lot of damage, but he needs to focus down. He needs to get on Selena or Hyde, and that's what's going to allow them to get damage down on the Kraken, because if Tempo Storm is allowed to just continue pushing in with this Kraken, then there's nothing that TSM is going to be able to do to stop it.
All right, so can they deal with this Kraken? They've been doing some good damage to it thus far. Tempo Storm not really wanting to commit to a fight as they now get underneath these turrets. That's going to be Vonsi jumping on in, immediately jumping out. Burst of Judgment is going to go down, does get blocked. One shot connects onto the turret. This is a lot of crystal damage coming out from this Vox now. Those Resonance bounces doing some work, but Kraken is still on the turrets. Are they going to be able to find these kills, though? TSM gets one. Hyde is going down low as well. Lost Boy falls. Hyde is going to go down. That's an ace for TSM, but they have lost out all of their turrets. The 2 crystal turrets did fall during that Kraken push.
Yeah, and I do like that we've seen Best Chuck here pick up an Aftershock that does give him a little bit of single target damage. Not a whole lot, but as we've seen there, it was enough to finish off the pedal, and that can really make the world of a difference, especially when you're down 4 turrets where every single bit of damage you have counts.
With those turrets down, could be an opportunity for Tempo Storm to try and end the game. Once they do respawn, it's going to be a few seconds still, as we are very late in this one. 24 minutes we're approaching. Death timers are very, very long, and we're getting to a point where one team fight can completely end the game either way, and we've seen both teams have the ability to take these team fights. So which team will get the upper hand? It's going to come down a lot to those reflex blocks. Can they block the stuff? They've been able to do so really well thus far, but now is when it really matters. The pressure is mounting.
Absolutely it is, and we have a lot of blue items built here on Chuck and only armor. So, Hyde really is going to be able to take advantage of Chuck in these scenarios. If Hyde's able to get damage focused down on Chuck, there's no shield, and the spontaneous combustion can really just eliminate Vox out of the fight very, very early.
Well, Tempo Storm starting to posture up, looking like they're ready to find a fight. They may be wanting to wait for the next Kraken, as that is going to be spawning right now. And start it up, put some pressure on, force TSM to have to come and try and answer. Or if they can find an opportunity, they've done so well at just getting opportunities around these objectives. See how it's going to play out. Everyone is ready to fight. Infusions are up on all 6 members of this game. Let's see, Tempo Storm, they took their Treant. Both mid Treants are gone, so that little bit of extra healing is not going to be available to either team. Glimmer Shots trying to poke. Vonsi's looking to go in. Oh, he immediately backs out once he realizes that he's spotted.
It was a good flare out of Evil there, because Vonsi did almost walk into that trap that we see on the side of Tempo Storm, and a good snipe coming out.
Vonsi gets eaten. This could be trouble. They're going to be pulling him away from the team, but not really capitalizing. Nice active camo trap is going to go down. Vonsi getting good damage onto Selena. Burst of Judgment comes out. Lost Boy Tough is the one who's in trouble. Team Solo Mid are taking this fight. They find 1 kill, and they should turn their attention to this Kraken.
Yeah, it was very good out of Team Solo Mid there. Chuck did get hit by that 1-shot, 1 kill, but the heal out of this Roma Daggio was able to heal him back up to full immediately. And now we're going to see TSM take this Kraken, and hopefully pull off the TSM special and push 4 turrets for the win.
That is going to be their hope. With only one member down, though, it's going to be a little bit tough. They still have to contend with Tempo Storm and deal with them. They have to make sure they don't lose a team fight while pushing with this Kraken, because without any turrets, Tempo Storm take a team fight. They can just walk right down the lane and take the victory. Vonsi's actually going to be recalling here. That's an interesting decision. It's because they realized that Selena was trying to make a sneaky little play there, but that's going to mean that these turrets are going to go down that much slower. As long as Selena can recall, Selena needs to be careful not to get caught out here. He's going to pop these scout traps. He does get caught, though. This is bad. The block on the active camo trap. He's going to stealth, try and take down Von C. Lots of damage, but Von C wins that duel. And that is going to be Selena now falling. Lost Boy Toph and Hyde trying to deal with this Kraken, and Best Chuck desperately. Best Chuck gets eaten, but only after the turret goes down. He's going to get pulled back in towards the base. They have the damage to take down Best Chuck, or do they? He's healing so much with that Eve of Harvest, and now the rest of the team is going to get here. The Fountain of Renewal is going to come out, and this is looking like Team Solo Mid will be able to take this one. Now 3-on-2 with the Kraken. Another burst comes through. Von C and Best Chuck working on these turrets is just not going to be enough. And Team Solo Mid will claim victory over Tempo Storm.
Very, very well played there in the late game by Team Solo Mid. And I do want to point out those scout traps that Evil had on their side. You know, they were in such a great position where we noticed that Selena had walked around them a couple times without quite setting them off, which, you know, kept up that vision without actually losing out on the gold value. And Von C was able to clean up the kill, and they pushed for the win with that TSM special.
4 turrets and the win. What a game from Team Solo Mid. They were, I mean, Tempo Storm, you got to give them credit. They were looking very strong as well, but Team Solo Mid just able to come through when it counts. Selena tried to make a super risky play, nearly had it pay off. As if he had taken down Von C in that duel, maybe we're looking at a different outcome of this game, but it is TSM going up 1-0.
Yeah, this is a game of seconds, milliseconds, and inches as we see that game so close all the way down to the wire. Tempo Storm almost pulling another upset for the night. It would have been par for the course, as we've had quite a few already. But Team Solo Mid, they come out on top, and that is going to push us into game number 2. A very close game, nonetheless, but, you know, Team Solo Mid finds ways to win. They're definitely playing really, really strongly. They're playing well. Evol still seems like he is meshing well with this roster. What were some of the things, though, that kind of kept them back for most of that game? Was it the Taka pick into the pedal? Because it did seem like once that pedal came online, it was really hard for it. Or was it the Grumpjaw? I mean, the Grumpjaw really, it's hard to counter the Grumpjaw, and we did see some effective Crucibles against it once or twice, but overall, it seems like that's a pretty tough composition to go into if you're Team Solo Mid.
It absolutely is, and we did see a really good play into the Grumpjaw despite not having a stun. You know, we mentioned that Evol was able to boots past the Grumpjaw several times and set up that Verse of Judgment that made it so that Tempo Storm really, you know, despite landing the ult, they didn't have a clear window of opportunity to have any follow-up on it.
Yeah, I mean, that happened a few times as well. The Adagio ult was always had to be initiated, but it put Chuck always in a bad spot, which was risky. So that's something that you definitely want to keep an eye out when you're playing with such a, you know, kind of fragile stun to try to get that Grumpjaw to spit out. And of course, the Kestrel combo with that Swallow, it's very, very common to try to put it right on that active camel. We saw that work out a few times effectively. So, you know, overall, Team Solo Mid, to their credit, really going up against probably one of the more challenging compositions in pulling out a victory.
Absolutely, and, you know, Evol is definitely showing that he has a spot on this roster. You know, he plays in such a similar form as Flash that it's almost seamless. You know, it just feels like there's so much synergy on this team, even though they don't play with each other all the time. And I think that really functions in their favor without having Flash here.
Yeah, and of course, Evil, he's that roamer for Rogue, and he has looked. He's one of those players on Rogue that have been very consistent, played very well, and sure enough, coming into this roster here, he shows, yeah, I can play with the big dogs. Going up against one of the best supports in the game in Lost Boy Toph is no easy matter, and of course, Hyde able to play on that signature Kestrel, and it didn't matter. I'm sorry, not in the Kestrel. The Kestrel
Selena.
Selena was on the Kestrel, but Hyde went on pedal, and actually, when you look at it, Taka, played by Von C, had so many obstacles to get over, so many things he had to dodge, and he was able to finally make it happen.
Absolutely, and I did like the pedal pick up there. Knowing that we had the talk on the other team, it made a lot of sense. But this is Team Solo Mid we're talking about. These guys practice just constantly all day long, and Von C was able to hold out to a point that then they were able to turn the team fights around. We got to the point where the pedal kind of plateaued, and the Taka was able to get around the fight enough with Best Chuck getting down the resonance damage that they were able to clean it up.
Yeah, well, we'll have to see if they can clean it up in game number 2. So we are about ready to jump into that. Just waiting for Team Solo Mid. Give me the thumbs up, and we should be in great shape. Team Solo Mid looking to not allow that surprise victory here. We had Cloud9 already drop, and they may deny us a Team Solo Mid versus Cloud9 rematch. If you're a Team Solo Mid, you really don't want to go into Cloud9 again. That's a lot to ask for. But, you're going up against now another team, potentially Nova in the finals, who have shown everyone, hey, no, they could probably win this whole entire tournament.
Absolutely. For being a team that's fairly new to the scene, I think Nova has really impressed all of us, especially taking down C9. I don't think anybody was really expecting that, but they did it in a pretty, a pretty demanding fashion. That last game was almost entirely on the side of Nova throughout the entire game, and I think that really shows a lot that they worked their way up last season through the challengers bracket. They're now in the VG8. And we're a little before the season still, but I think they're going to put down a really good running here against some of these top teams.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we are about ready to get into game number 2 as the draft's almost set up and ready to get started. Any early predictions here of how Team Solo Mid will probably play into the next draft? Picking Talk on A side, a little bit risky. We've seen it kind of, struggle a little bit here in both these games and both matchups here tonight. Stuff like that. These are mistakes that maybe not having Flash X is hurting them. Is this something that they maybe play a more conservative draft here in game number 2?
As far as the picks last game, to me, neither side really seemed to be dominant enough where any of it really warrants a targeted ban. As far as a hero, Kestrel's always going to be one against Tempo Storm you have to consider because both Selena and Hyde are both very proficient on that hero. But I mean, that's going to be an all-around thing. That's every time you face Tempo Storm, you have to be worried about that. So I don't really know where TSM is going to go with the draft this way.
All right, it looks like we're about ready to get into the game here in just a bit. As we're just waiting for the team to get on. I was waiting for confirmation from Team Solo Mid, making sure they're ready to go. Don't want to start without them. As we should be getting in. I think that, Tempo has shown that they can hang with some of these top teams. Struggled a little bit during the Unified Championship, but that was probably just also testament to just being the first time for a lot of those players to have, show up and play at that level. They definitely have shown during the during the online events that, absolutely they can be a force to reckon with.
Yeah, and I think that's something that Lost Boy Toph, besides being, a great captain, can bring to this team. He has a lot of on-stage experience where if they do get into the position where they, go to another live event, I really think that he can pull this team together and help them work on their composure in the live environment. So it's always a good thing to have in your back pocket as someone who has that live experience, because it's totally different when you're playing on stage
The draft
versus.
begins.
And we're getting into the draft.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, draft will start right now. Looking to jump in, so get it over to you and Tasty to break it down. As Adagio comes off the board right away.
Yeah, Adagio, not usually a first ban that we see, but we definitely do see a Adagio with a very high ban and pick rate. So coming this early out of Tempo Storm might be an answer to how well Evol played last game.
Very well could be. Adagio taken away. I mean, it's just a strong ban in general too. We see it get banned a lot along with the Lyra, who's going to come out as the ban for Team Solo Mid. And there's that Grumpjaw once again.
Yep, that Grumpjaw in this first pickup here is a very good flexible pick. You know, we could see it on Lost Boy Toff again. We could see it on Hyde. We'll just have to see how the draft goes, but that's something you're always going to have in your mind is where do we want to force this Grumpjaw to be played?
So, Grumpjaw, like I said, very flexible. Lance also pretty flexible. Can be either in the lane or the jungle or captain position. Can be in the lane. I mean, we've seen Cavalifar do it over in Europe a couple times, but likely not going to be a best Chuck and a pick. They ban away the Glaive, though, which is kind of surprising because you typically don't see a team run Glaive and Grumpjaw. So I'm a little bit surprised to see Glaive get taken off the board, but I'm just not wanting it to be a possibility for Tempo Storm to pick up.
Absolutely, and we see Tempo Storm using a little bit of their bonus time here to figure out what they want to make sure Team Solo Mid is not allowed to pick up in this next pick. I do really like the Lance into the Grumpjaw, though. He offers a lot of CC, and we see the Vox coming off the table.
And Vox off the table. Kestrel is taken by Team Solo Mid, taking that away from Tempo Storm. Smart pickup. We're going to make sure that Hyde or Selena do not get their hands on that hero. It can go to Von C or Best Chuck. I'm leaning towards Von C. He is typically the member of TSM that gets the Kestrel when they pick it up. But again, has the flexibility so that they can wait and see what Tempo Storm are running before they fully make that decision.
And we do see the Arden pick up here, so I believe it's going to be probably a Crystal Grumpjaw in the jungle, but we'll have to see what Tempo Storm's final pickup is to confirm that. I do like the Arden and the Grumpjaw combination, though. We do see a Ringo picked up for the third pick out of Tempo Storm. I think for my personal opinion here, I'd like to see this Kestrel in the jungle, and I'd want to see, you know, we could either see a Gwen or a Baron pick up here, someone who particularly does well into CC, you know, kind of take away some of this benefit of the Grumpjaw. And there it is. We see the Gwen. So this is going to be Hyde picking up this Crystal Kestrel in the jungle.
Oh, Von C, you mean?
They're on the side.
Teams
You're
have
right.
been swapped.
My mistake. That is going to be Von C on the Kestrel. I was super excited to see Hyde, but you are absolutely right. The sides did
Either
swap.
way, it's still a Crystal Kestrel out of the jungle. Von C or Hyde, it's going to be really exciting regardless of which one of those two has their hands on this hero. But I'm going to have to, let's see, there we go. We are in the lobby and ready to go for this game 2 of our second semifinal of this VISPRO split.
Absolutely, and this ought to be a very, very good matchup. We've seen a very close game out of Tempo Storm and TSM in game 1, and you know, I'm hoping to see one that's down to the wire again. You know, those are exciting games to watch, especially out of such high tier players.
All right, so loading on in. Will this be Tempo Storm pushing us to our second game 3? Or will TSM solidify themselves their spot in the finals? Have to wait and see within the next 15 to 30 minutes or so. But the teams are making their way out of the base, and we are underway.
We are underway indeed, and we see armor coming out of both Selena and Best Chuck, both respecting that damage that they're going to be able to put down in the early game in this laning phase. And we already see some boots out of Evil wanting to get over to the enemy side of the jungle, potentially steal away this tree, but it doesn't look like Tempo is going to start it up. Both teams having the lane and jungler share the back, so nobody getting ahead in the lane right now.
Those lane minions just going to be duking it out with themselves. Evil is there to soak up some experience, and that's going to be the only experience that goes over in the lane for a little bit, because Best Chuck and Von C both very interested in this Ancient Treant, but it is going to go the way of Tempo Storm. They take a fair bit of damage in order to secure it, but it does go over to Selena, and now they can make their way up to the lane to get this game really underway.
Absolutely, and I'm really excited to see how Von C plays this matchup into Grumpjaw. Heroes that have a lot of dive potential particularly do pretty well into Crystal Kestrel in the early game because she's not able to get those active camos down quite as frequently. So I'd really like to see some aggression out of Hyde here, but he is getting taken pretty low as Evil and Von C are together and Lost Boy Toph is in the lane.
Yeah, Hyde is almost certainly going to be going down here. He tries to run away, but the extra movement speed, the boots getting popped by both Von C and Evil, but they get the first blood. It's going to give them a nice little advantage. Meanwhile, up in the lane, Best Chuck not really going to be falling too far behind despite being 1v2 up there for a bit. So things working out for Team Solo Mid to start things off.
Absolutely. It was really good of Chuck to keep vision on Lost Boy Toph, and that gave Von C and Evil that clear advantage of, we know where Lost Boy Toph is. We can really push into this Grumpjaw without having to worry about the Vanguard coming in. And Chuck getting a lot of damage down on Selena with a good root out of Evil as well.
Yeah, really nice damage. The Lance early on can do so much to disrupt the opposing laner if those roots are connecting, especially when you pair it with a Gwen who has so much burst potential. It's a big wave of minions getting pushed into the turret, but Selena's going to be more than happy to just farm that up here. Meanwhile, Hyde getting some good damage onto Evil. Going to get a little bit of help from Lost Boy Toph on that Arden, and they find a kill for themselves. Nice job by Hyde and Lost Boy Toph.
Yeah, really, really good engage there out of Hyde. Use that A from Grumpjaw to get in there on Evil and get all that damage down. It was definitely a good swing having Selena have backed and been so low. That's such a good pickup. No matter who it is in this early game, when you get that 200 gold off of a bounty on a Grumpjaw who's already an early game hero, that puts you in a really good position for the upcoming fights.
It really does. And at the moment, Lost Boy Toph pretty low. Selena low on energy, but is going to be sticking around to farm up these minions. You can see doing a pretty good job in terms of the actual CS numbers. 34-29 over Best Chuck. Not a massive lead, but still a lead nonetheless. And down in the jungle, Von C versus Hyde. You can see Hyde started off, went for that Stormguard banner, and now is going into the crystal looking for that Shatterglass, or sorry, not the Shatterglass, the Aftershock. And this is something that we've seen a lot of junglers do, is switch up. Instead of going all out for the Storm Crown, they'll get just the Stormguard banner and then go into the actual damage item.
And really, whichever way he goes on this Grumpjaw, the big thing is he's getting the cooldown. He doesn't really have the most outrageous ratios, as opposed to like a Taka alt. That X-Retsu, has a pretty high crystal ratio where you don't need a whole lot of crystal power to back it up. But this Grumpjaw is obviously going to be focusing a lot more on getting these Aftershock procs down and getting his abilities up quicker so that he can get proc after proc after proc down. And we have a tension bow completed out of Best Chuck, so that's going to be a lot of early game pressure that Evil and Chuck have against Selena here. But we do Selena picking up a tension bow of her own, but not quite the same upfront burst damage that this Gwen is going to offer.
Yeah, it's a little bit more cohesive with the kit for a Gwen than it is a Ringo, but Selena knowing that he has to match that burst as best he can in this early game if he's going to have a chance. And again, the armor pierce is still very useful for any weapon carry, so we'll see whose tension bow is going to be more effective at the moment. I mean, Selena can have some really heavy bursts with attention bow if he has one of those heroic perks stored up and gets the crit with the tension bow proc. That can do some pretty heavy burst. Lost Boy's going to have to eat that one shot in order to protect Selena, who took a ton of damage from Von C's Glimmer Shots. That Crystal Kestrel, the splash damage on the Glimmer Shots just does so much work. Selena very close to falling. Hyde's going to try and dissuade them from going any further under this turret, and it does a pretty good job of it for now, but TSM, they know that Selena had to recall, so they're just going to stick around. However, there goes Hyde trying to jump in onto Von C. Von C gets the Gamma Field down, but doesn't get his stun, and now this is going to be pulled under the turret Evol, but the minions get there first, so Evol will not be eating the turret until much too late. They find one kill, but it gets traded 1 for 1.
Yeah, and not really benefiting anybody there, except for the fact that TSM was able to get a lot of damage down on this turret, but they did end up trading Roamer for Roamer, which is really the best case scenario that Tempo Storm can get out of the positioning they were in. But this turret is going to be dangerously low for the next time that TSM comes up into the lane.
Very much going to be an easy target for TSM when they decide to go back to pushing that objective. They will be just kind of have 1,000 gold just sort of sitting out there waiting for them to pick it up. Looking at the gold difference right now, there's not much to speak of. Only about a couple hundred separating these two teams. So Tempo Storm, again, doing a very good job of keeping even with TSM, but like we were just talking about, Denomine, the turret is very close to giving a slight gold lead over to Team Solo Mid.
Yeah, and the other danger of that turret being low is when this push does end up coming out of TSM, there's a lot of potential where they can burst down this turret due to the proc of the Gwen. And Von C is going to be able to sneak around and get to the backline and hopefully get Selena out of the picture while Grumpjaw is trying to deal with Best Chuck on the side of TSM.
Hyde going to be covering the lane for Selena while Selena went down to the shop, picked up a Sorrow Blade. So going to have a slight edge, but Lost Boy Toph, oh my goodness, Toph just got destroyed. The CC train running rampant on him, and that's almost certainly going to be the end of this turret. Hellfire Brew's going to come out as Hyde jumps in, trying to get some damage, trying to keep them away from this turret. One more shot will take it down, but the barrier comes through, doesn't matter. Von C finishes it off with the Glimmer Shots, and then Hyde gets stuck, and it goes down as well. Team Solo Mid starting to really push their advantage here. And so, with now that first turret down, TSM has themselves a nice little gold lead in order to maybe try and find some more advantages. Sorrow Blade coming off for Best Chuck. He had the infusion as well, and Von C. So very early infusions from Team Solo Mid, and they make the most of it.
Yeah, the early infusions coming out definitely helping out that fight, but a huge root coming out of Evol with the Lance, and that really allowed a lot of follow-up out of Best Chuck and Von C there.
So 4-2 now in favor of Team Solo Mid with that first turret down. How much more are they going to look to take as they send all three members up into the lane, trying to force their way, keep Tempo Storm having to play defensively. That's their goal. One shot is not going to connect. And so, I mean, it's going to be a very short cooldown as we go further into this one, but those Glimmer Shots, 2 Glimmer Shots, almost taking out Selena, and the third one will do it. That is going to be just a very quick kill. Now they can put pressure onto this tier 2 turret. Hyde's trying to defend it, but they are just going so low. Fonzie needs some energy, so he's going to go and take this Treant, and that will allow TSM to now stick around a bit longer as they wait for this next minion wave.
Yeah, and Von C having the slow out of this Frostburn is really helping him out. It keeps Selena in range of some follow-up Glimmer Shots, and huge damage coming out on Hyde and Lost Boy Toph there, and the one shot! Selena gets deleted. Toph is going to go down for the ace, and this is for sure going to be a turret for Team Solo Mid here.
Almost guaranteed. They make one. You're going to even get 2 as they continue to push up, have these ace buff minions at their backs, And the respawn timer's coming through now, but it's just not going to be enough. Just like that, Team Solomon, they play this style so frequently where the game looks so close, so even for the first 6 to 7 minutes, and then all of a sudden they just put the pressure on and start gaining huge leads. This gold lead I was talking about, when it was at like 14,000, 15,000, these teams were dead even, and now all of a sudden TSM has themselves a 5k gold lead just like that. Tempo's gonna grab a gold miner. That's gonna, get them a little bit closer to striking distance, but TSM just absolutely starting to bring the fight to Tempo Storm now.
Yeah, and I think this is really what we expect out of TSM at this point. They're always a top contender in these North American events, and even in the live events, across the world. We've seen that they came in. Off the top of my head, I don't remember if they came in 3rd or 4th at the Unified Finals, but they placed really well at Worlds. Coming in 2nd place, and that's a worldwide event. And we see them putting on the pressure.
Sorry, it was 3rd/4th because there actually wasn't a 3rd place game, but now Lost Boy Toph is going to be taken down again. This damage from TSM is just immense, as Hyde has nowhere to go. They're not going to get the ace, but they're going to start pushing in. They have 10 seconds on Lost Boy Toph. They may look to take one of these 2 crystal turrets for their troubles. They are going to do just that. Turret goes down as Lost Boy Toph respawns, and TSM just make their way out of the base unharmed.
Yeah, and that was a really good trap by Von C put down in the base there, just in case if Hyde and Lost Boy Toph wanted to get off that platform and try to engage. There was a lot of potential for damage for Von C to turn around and set that trap off, but they went down, cleared out the wave, which allowed TSM. They are now backing to their side of the jungle, where they're going to clean up and potentially buy for one more final push.
Yep, they very likely are. I mean, they know they can find these fights. They can just bully Tempo Storm around at this point. If Tempo Storm can't find themselves a way to get into an advantageous position, which is much easier said than done at this stage of the game, this could be all she wrote. We're going to spot out TSM. But TSM, I don't think they really care about being spotted out. One shot's going to go wide. Hellfire Brew is going to come out. There's a gauntlet. This is a nice engage, but Selena is going to get onto the backsides, onto Von C. Von C is low, but he's not down, and instead it's TSM finding the first kill. Best Chuck gets another one. Hyde will find a second, though, making this a 2 for 2. A picture-perfect engage for Tempo Storm, and they trade even. That's not exactly what they were hoping for, but when you're behind, an even trade is as good as a win.
Absolutely, with those bounties definitely stacking up. We've seen that gold lead was starting to extend to 7, almost 8,000, and we're back down to, just barely over 5. So, not a gold swing that brings it to even, but, a couple thousand gold in Hyde's pocket is definitely going to, bring a lot to Tempo Storm's future in this game.
All right, so now the TSM going to go ahead and grab themselves a gold miner for their troubles.
And what I think we really need to see out of Lost Boy Toph here is I think we need to get a second bit of shield going for this. The amount of poke this Kestrel has, It's not going to prevent the damage behind him, since clearly the Crystal Kestrel has to splash through. But in a lot of these fights, we see Toph getting poked down pretty early, and then they, take advantage of the repositioning that Tempo Storm has to do, and that allows Von C to get on Selena very easily.
Yep, that's exactly what we've been seeing, and I mean, even if he gets a little bit extra shield, he can play a little bit further forward and maybe prevent some of that splash damage coming through, or at least early on as well. So it does have a lot of benefits, but TSM, Kraken has awakened. They have an opportunity. They could possibly even just try and start up the Kraken and force Tempo Storm to come to them and try and make an engage. But Tempo Storm, we saw, they just made a really nice engage. Lost Boy Toph's going to eat a lot of damage. Bonsi wasn't even involved in that one, and he still loses about a fifth of his health. One shot's going to go wide. It's going to be back up in about 30 seconds, so not too much of a concern there. And TSM, they're just happy to push in this lane. Selena's going to throw out the Hellfire Brew. Are we going to see the Gauntlet come down? There it is. It's going to stun up Best Chuck. Hyde is on the backlines onto Von C. They destroy Von C, and now they can take down Best Chuck as well. It is a double kill. Evil gets himself out of there. But what an engagement from Tempo Storm. Hyde, when he's able to get onto the back lines, he is able to just delete Von C, because Von C has almost no defense aside from that reflex block.
Yeah, and that's what we see quite often out of Crystal Kestrel is your defense is your ability to stay invisible for so long. And, you know, when Hyde is allowed to jump on that back line, Von C's not going to be able to get that trap down. And that's what we see happening here. And, and a huge snipe coming out of Von C, picking up Selena.
That was a big kill, as it will now mean it's a 3-on-2 with this Kraken pushing, because Tempo Storm did grab that Kraken at least. So they have that going for them, but how much are they going to be able to do with only 2 members alive to help push with it is the question. It's going to get this first turret pretty much guaranteed, but I don't know if they're going to be able to get a whole lot more than that.
Yeah, this first turret's definitely taking a beating out of this Kraken, but it leaves Tempo Storm really unable to help. You know, if Tempo Storm comes in and tries to help this Kraken, we have a lot of damage out of Best Chuck and Von C here. And there's just not any objective that Tempo Storm can really take other than their jungle.
So only 1 turret, and it's just the first turret. That's really not a worthwhile Kraken push. And so that snipe from Von C becomes that much more important, as that really prevented Tempo Storm from being able to do any sort of work with that Kraken. They don't even come out on top of gold with that Kraken. You know, normally you say, okay, if you get 1 turret, it can still be worth because you're getting just extra positioning on the map and such. But with it only being the first turret, that's such an easy turret to take normally.
Yeah, especially that we're rolling into 18 minutes here. You know, this late in the game.
Oh, Selena. Half of Selena's health from each 1 shot that comes out. And so now TSM, they know that Selena was just chunked down. You can play a little bit loose, as they're just looking to clear out some of this vision. See if they can find any opportunities to jump on someone from Tempo Storm if they get a little too bold. Clearing out this vision, make sure that they can move around as much as they want. Von C, again, no defense. Even those scout traps do a pretty hefty chunk of his health. So they need to be really careful about keeping Von C safe. It's going to be a Hellfire Brew onto him, does not get blocked. So he's going to be burning down. He has to just go back and look to pick up a tree. And look how much damage, almost 3/4 of his health taken out by a single Hellfire Brew from a weapon Ringo. Again, you have to start to wonder, is this glass cannon build going to be enough?
Yeah, and you know, he did get the health back out of these 2 Treants, which is kind of why I think he decided to save the reflex block. Tempo Storm wasn't in a position where they could really push heavily to follow up the Hellfire Brew. And so now that ult is down, and, you know, Von C's already back up to full health off of just the 2 Treants. And he has that reflex block still for the Gauntlet or the invade from the Grumpjaw. So I think it's really well played by Von C to intentionally not block that Hellfire Brew.
Yeah, in that instance, it works out. But again, they have to be so careful. Hellfire Brew is going to be back up shortly. And can again go out. Lost by Toff's going to eat the 1 shot. Von C takes so much damage. Hyde is now on the back lines, chasing him down. The fountain comes out, but is it going to be enough? That's a nice active camo field put down, but it gets blocked. The stun. Von C is now on his own with Evil because they took down Best Chuck. I just don't know if Von C is sturdy enough to deal with this. He's trying to get these active camo traps. They find 1 kill. It's a 1-for-1. Von C and Evil versus Hyde and Selena, but they are in the TSM jungle, not where they want to be. Selena's going to get caught out here. Evol's going to prevent the recall. Von C not really in a position to capitalize on this, though. 1 shot not available either, so it looks like they both are going to be able to get away, and it's just going to be that 1-for-1 trade.
Yeah, 1-for-1 trade, and unfortunately Von C was a little too low on energy where he might have been able to follow up on Selena being as low as as low as this Ringo is, we've seen those one-shots are able to just chunk away at this Ringo's health. And, I think Tempo Storm is doing a really good job. Again, these one-for-one trades really work out in their favor. There's not anything that TSM can do objective-wise once they've lost Best Chuck. And again, the bounties stack up on the side.
Yeah, bounties stack up, but the bounties are pretty much not really going to be coming through anymore because it is just the kill streak bounties, and so those have all been pretty much equalized. Selena, lots of damage again. This is such a high risk, high reward build from Von C. When the damage lands, it's a ton of damage, but if he gets jumped on himself, he just melts. That's what we've been seeing, and it's a very risky situation for both sides. That one shot again does half of Selena's health if it connects onto the Ringo.
Absolutely, which can burn out an early fountain out of Lost by Toph very easily in the right conditions. And here we see the one shot coming in a little bit wide though, and now we've got a 30-second cooldown out of Von C here that they can really look to push against this. If we've seen Selena when she gets on Von C, the damage, immediately with the no defense on Kestrel can just take Von C right out of the fight.
Lost Boy Toph gonna be eating a little bit of damage. Not really much cause for concern there. One shot is about to come off cooldown. Probably gonna get fired as soon as it's available. And there it goes. It does hit Lost Boy Toph. Good chunk of damage dealt there. But again, TSM, they're so wary of trying to go in all in onto an engagement because they know how squishy they are. Von C's gonna make his presence known there. A little interesting that he decided to do that instead of just trying to sneak in. But the sentry's gonna start getting involved now. Lost Boy got stunned. That's a gauntlet. It does get blocked, but they eat Evol. Is this going to be enough? Best Chuck is going to be burning down. Evil has to try and roll away. Gets the fountain out, but he is down. This could be a chance for Tempo Storm, but a big stun onto Hyde. However, it's still going to be Selena. Von C tries to make the play, but Selena comes out on top. Last man standing is this Ringo. And now Selena with 4 offensive items going to be able to push in and do some serious work to these turrets with 30 seconds on the death timers.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be 2 turrets for Selena here, and Von C did really well there to clean up that kill on Lost Boy Toph, because that could have been 2 turrets on the back of a Kraken for Tempo Storm, and fortunately, Lost Boy Toph was dropped, and this game is not quite over yet.
Whew, what a game this is turning out to be. Game 2 of this best of 3. Tempo Storm hanging on by a thread, it feels like, but they are able to find opportunities. They are now just 1 turret away from evening up those objectives. Kraken is still looming over the fold as she has just been kind of untouched for a while. Neither team really willing to commit to trying to start that objective up because they know how risky things are. All it takes is 1 good engage and this game is over.
Yeah, and we do see Best Chuck and Selena have both finished their builds, both 4-item carries. I'd really like to see Von C be able to finish up this Aegis, because every single time that Hyde is able to get to Von C, that upfront damage just allows Selena to follow up and kill Von C in 1 or 2 shots. So I'd like to see Von C get the gold to be able to finish this Aegis, prevent some of that upfront burst, and maybe we can see a little bit of a good snipe coming out of Von C here, getting Selena down below half.
And it's been happening all game, but again, can they capitalize on this? Every time Selena gets hit by that one shot, he ends up recalling, and TSM just don't know about it, and they don't do anything to follow up off those one shots. So it almost just becomes, some information gathered, but when you don't do anything about it, it just kind of becomes for naught. Selena already back now at full health. No Tempo Storm, they know where TSM is because of these scout traps. Finally going to get popped. That one in the Tri-Brush. Kraken going to get aggroed, but immediately Tempo Storm moves away. Hellfire Brew goes out. It's going to go on to Best Chuck. Gets blocked. Still some good damage being done, though.
gets the splash damage down onto Von C too, which is, you know, it is a weapon Ringo. It doesn't get a huge amount of damage down, but it does still do 480 true damage with that third point put into it.
And again, with the complete lack of defense coming out of Von C, it still does a pretty hefty amount. Does take the Treant to start getting healing and get some energy back. Von C running somewhat low on energy. And again, these teams just kind of play ring around the rosy, just playing chicken with each other, really trying to just dare each other to make a move and see who's going to get caught out. But neither side willing to take the chance yet.
Absolutely not. And, you know, we're at 26 minutes, so the death timers are getting extremely long. And, you know, with only 2 turrets on the side of Solo Mid and only 1 turret on the side of Tempo Storm, it's really risky here where 1 kill can really swing the way this game goes. You know, if you get Von C down or if you can get Selena down, you have this potential to either just push to win the game, depending on how your health bars are, or take the Kraken. And as of right now, we're just seeing both teams dance around this middle of the jungle.
Again, neither side willing to be the one that makes a potentially makes a mistake that could cost them the game. Lost by Toph eating a lot of damage. 1 shot's going to come back up. And is it going to get fired out immediately once again? It is. It's going to hit Lost Boy again. He's down below half. Again, you have an opportunity now. You know there is a target that is below half health. But TSM, again, are not willing to go for it. But now they start up the Kraken. This could be massive. Evol is just going to be gathering information so that they know where members of Temple Storm are while this Kraken goes down. Bestchuck and Von C have so much damage. They can take this so quickly. Hyde's going to get in here. He's going to know what's happening, but he doesn't get there fast enough. And now with the regen, are TSM going to try and turn? They are not. They're going to back off. 1 shot onto Selena. He gets deleted almost, but he stays alive somehow, some way. Now he goes down. This could be TSM. Bestchuck is close. Bestchuck goes down. Von C's still very healthy, but he's so squishy. Hyde is going to be able to kill him as well. This is Tempo Storm coming out on top of the fight, but they have to worry about this Kraken. Evol trying to just cancel out this recall and keep Hyde busy. He's doing a good job of it thus far. Hyde does not get over the wall. He gets rooted. Evol can find this kill. He gets a stun, gets the kill, and it is just going to be Lost Boy Toph for 30 seconds to try and stop this Kraken push. Kraken's going to get at least the turret. I don't know if it's going to be enough to end the game or not. Evol is going to be making his way down. I feel like Evol maybe should have gone for a weapon infusion while he was at the shop there to get a little bit extra damage on this to try and end the game, but looks like he's going to be satisfied with just pushing in, taking the turret. Selena's going to respawn. Selena has a lot of damage to help work on the Kraken, but Evol's going to try and go for this. He's just trying to stall, trying to delay, but he's going down so quickly. Selena has so much damage. Evol cannot stick around. This is so risky. He's going to try it. He's going to get as much damage as he can onto this crystal. The 1 shot comes through for extra burst. Kraken, Evol, and Von C combine to take down the crystal and take the 2-0 victory.
Yeah, and that was a perfect snipe coming out for Von C. Seeing the opportunity there where it was going to be really close with only the Roam and the Kraken being there getting damage down. And a big 1-shot comes in across the map and gets enough damage to help secure the win. And that Kraken only ended the game with, a tiny sliver of health as well as Evol. So, great execution coming out of Team Solo Mid.
Guys, that was a really strong ending to both these games. Team Solo Mid coming out here, and man, was it close day. It was much closer than maybe we are anticipating, but ultimately the result, 2-0 in favor of Team Solo Mid. Maybe not as surprising, maybe more so how they got there.
Absolutely, and Temple Storm definitely put up a good fight against Team Solo Mid. This is not an easy team to beat, so even being this close is something to be proud of coming this far into the tournament.
Absolutely. They got to feel pretty good. Unfortunately, they get knocked down. They are going to be playing Cloud9 in the 3rd place round here tomorrow.
Honestly, I'm really excited to see the Nova versus Team Solo Mid matchup. You know, having watched Nova knock C9 out, you know, I think Nova could bring home this whole tournament.
Ben, Sam, and Ken are on separate journeys to defeat the menacing Vile Dragon. But let's just say luck isn't on their side. If only there was a way for them to find